quorum, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Announcements. Do we have any announcements? Okay, and then
I got the mic. I just wanted to commend planning and zoning staff for a very informative and well-run meeting that we had with the city council. I learned a lot and I really enjoyed it. Probably too much, but I liked it.
Yeah, and it started and ended on time, and that was awesome. I like meetings like that.
Glad to hear it.
Okay, we have
Peggy. Just one comment. Maybe give Adam a chance to make an announcement or
Get married.
Yeah.
Have a kid.
Oh. Well, I guess I don't really have much this year. November 1st will be my last, or rather October 26th, I believe, will be my last meeting. So as of November 1st, I'll be off the commission. The mayor had asked me to sit on Nampa Development Corporation's board. So I only have so much time, and I think that'll be a good use of it. So I appreciate y'all. This has been great. So thank you. Yeah, and then I can cater for you guys.
Yeah, cater.
awesome.
Thanks, Adam. From staff, we just want to say thank you for your service. It's been great to have you. How long have you been on the commission?
Ron and I went on the same time.
3 years?
4 years.
4 years? Has it been 4 years?
4.5.
No, I hear 5.
Like that.
Because our 5 years, our term is up next December.
Yeah.
So it'll be 5 years this year.
4 years.
Oh.
Are you 5 or 6 years?
I think we're a 6-year term.
6-year term.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously?
Yeah, sorry.
Whoa.
Sorry, Ron.
4.5, Ron.
So fun. I just lose track of time.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
And I'll forego our stipend if Adam will cater every meeting.
There's no conflict anymore.
Yeah.
I'll still be here.
Okay, we have a special guest from Compass here. Carl Miller has got a presentation for us.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Nampa Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Carl Miller, and I'm here with the Community Planning Association of Southwest Idaho, probably better known as Compass. Today, I'm going to be talking about a new tool that we have for your benefit, a fiscal impact tool. And as I go through this, I'd just like you to kind of keep some of these rhetorical questions in the back of your mind and make sure I answer these. But if a new subdivision is approved in the city of Nampa, could you afford the new services that would be demanded of that? How would you know if your comprehensive plan is financially viable? What is the financial impact of House Bill 389? And can you answer these questions right now? I'm going to introduce a little bit more about Compass, about our what fiscal impact analysis is, this new tool that we've developed, along with your staff providing feedback to that. I'll share a little bit more about how we'll be sharing this tool with you and how we'll be reporting some of the results that we get from this tool. And then obviously I'd like to answer any questions you have about fiscal impact. Actually throughout, if you have any questions, feel free to stop me, but obviously at the end, I'll also stop for any questions that you have. So first of all, I hope you're familiar with Compass. If you're not, we're the Metropolitan Planning Organization for Ada and Canyon County, which means we receive federal transportation dollars through FHWA and FTA, and we look at transportation infrastructure and services. We have a unique role in that we're regional, 2 counties, and that we look long distance, 30 years out, to decide, along with our stakeholders, really how should we be spending those transportation investment dollars down the road to make sure that we're really building communities. The city of Nampa is represented on our board of directors by the mayor and 1 additional council members. In fact, anybody within the 2 county area is represented by at least 2 members on the Compass board of directors. We're also at Compass, we're a council of governments, which really means that when our board gets together, if there's things beyond transportation planning, as long as they fit into the parameters of what Compass can do as a council of governments, we can also assist with those. And as the directors have been getting increasingly concerned about the rate and the type of growth that we're getting in the Treasure Valley. They have asked us, Compass, to come up with a way to evaluate, to quantify the financial impact of new growth upon the Treasure Valley. And so we worked with our steering committee, as well as hiring a consultant called Tischler Bice. They're pretty, I think, the most well-known consulting group in America to do fiscal impact analysis. In fact, I learned about fiscal impact analysis at a conference where they were giving a presentation. So I think they're kind of the national leader in these. We hired Tischler Bice to help us with this fiscal impact, and they found out that they were getting so much work in the Intermountain West with all the growth that's going on in Utah and Idaho and in the West, that they actually moved part of their headquarters out to Boise. So just as a way to say, this is where everybody is moving to right now. But fiscal impact at its simplest form is just, are the revenues that you expect from new growth going to exceed the expenditures that you're going to also see, because you're going to need to provide services out to new areas? And if you're getting enough taxes and impact fees and property and other fees that exceed that expenditures through operating and capital needs, then that's usually a net fiscal gain, and that's typically a good thing. And we wanted to really make sure that this fiscal impact analysis really covered a wide range of impacts that we see from new growth. So this is everything from transportation, where are new roads going to need to be built, to schools. Where do we need both new schools, capital improvements, but also just additional operating expenses for buses and teachers and so forth. We looked at safety and emergency services. We looked at parks and recreation, administration of all these things. In fact, we did a really deep dive with each of the communities, looking at their budgets and the different line items that you have in there. We have over 100 different service factors built into our fiscal impact tool. So it's pretty broad and it's pretty robust in the amount of things that we look at as far as what does new growth mean to the Treasure Valley. So I'll just kind of walk you through a little bit of the behind the scenes on how the tool works, so that you can get a sense for this. And then I'll talk a little bit more about how we're going to report this growth to you. But a lot of communities that do fiscal impact analysis take an average cost approach, which means one new house is built. That means maybe a third of a student, 100 vehicle miles traveled on an average day, and they do it that way. The problem with that is you really don't get into those geographical differences between one side of a city and another side of the city, or another part of the region, or who serves those areas. And so we developed this sub-area map, the two-county area, with over 130 different geographic areas, because we wanted to be very granular in how we look at a community, the impact on a community. In North Nampa, a new subdivision could have a whole different impact than in South Nampa, or in one school district versus another school district, depending on class size and capacity needs. And so you can see this map. I know it's a little bit difficult to see, but there's a very granular way we're looking at this. Several different districts within Nampa to say where is growth, when growth occurs, how is the impact on that, and who's impacted? Is it the Valley View School District, the Nampa School District, or somebody else? We looked at a lot of different scenario inputs, and we built into this tool 3 different single-family residential types, 5 different multifamily types, over a dozen different employment types, and then we can mix and match for mixed-use developments. But that way we can look at, is a detached home different than an attached home as far as property values, the impact on schools, the impact on transportation, emergency services, fire, and other things. And we like to think that this probably represents about 95% of all development types. Almost anything that we see on a typical planning and zoning night could be fed into this. Every once in a while, we'll get something a little unusual. New baseball stadium is proposed, or something that we haven't seen. Topgolf is, maybe those don't fit these categories very nice, but that's pretty rare. I would like to think almost everything that you'll see fits into this fiscal impact tool. This slide represents one of the screens from the tool and that we worked with your staff on. This represents the single-family detached homes in Nampa. And then as you can see across the fields from left to right, the different valuations have different impacts on how many persons per household, how many students per household, vehicle miles traveled, law enforcement calls, fire and EMS calls. And you can see that actually as home prices get more in Nampa, the amount of students decreases. And so obviously there's a different impact, not just on the revenue side with those property taxes, but on the expenditure side with how many new school capacity needs are there. And these were developed for each one of those land use types that I just showed you a moment ago. We'll be using this tool to help provide additional information to you. You're still the decision-making authority. We're just hoping to provide additional information and help you with those decisions so that you can see what are the impacts to the city impacts are in blue, county in orange, school in purple, highway district in light green, and Valley Regional Transit in that darker green. And so as we run these evaluations, we can tell you how much is the net fiscal impact, how much is generated versus what the expenditures are based on these different service providers, and then tell you at what point do you break even. Because while something may eventually generate enough expenditures to exceed those surplus of revenues to exceed expenditures, maybe that doesn't come for many, many years, and so maybe it still is not a good idea. In this example, it's a 20,000 square foot grocery store and 50 multifamily units in Kuna, and you can see at what point they break even and how much money they generate. Obviously, we can run the same things in any different area in Nampa. And then this is our development review checklist. You probably see these every once in a while. We provide these for you with larger scale developments, anything 50 residential homes or more. We've actually changed the format to reflect our new upcoming plan, Communities in Motion 2050. So the goals from this represent the goals in our long range plan. So basically it's a tool to help bridge that, what are our regional goals we've all agreed on, and how does that help you with your local decision making? Obviously the decision making is still yours, but again, a tool to help you out. And then the one on the right just shows that how we'll be providing this information to you with green, yellow, and red check marks that are the same icons that we use in our reporting that we give to our board of directors. So the mayor will see these on an annual basis on a variety of different things, from transportation to open space to farmland, to say, are we moving the needle? Are we doing the right things? And are we accomplishing what we've said we will in the plan? Those same icons you'll see in the development checklist, again, for larger scale developments. But anytime you want one, a fiscal impact analysis run, we usually do them for large scale. If there's one that doesn't trip that 50 unit threshold, have staff contact me. I'd be happy to run it for you as well. We'll also can run this tool not just for individual development proposals, but as you have a new land use plan or a sub area plan that you're trying to evaluate which scenario, what are the changes in land uses? Does it make financial sense? We can run those for you as well. Or as you're doing scenario planning, looking at demographic changes, what if we have an older community or a younger community? We can also run that information and provide those information to you. But those would be more on a case-by-case situation. So House Bill 389 recently passed. It has a lot of different changes to how we're going to be doing growth in the Valley. I guess I'll just kind of hit to the punchline is most of those things were plugged into the model at this point. There's a few additional things like what to do with levy and authority that kind of depend on how the city of Nampa decides to update their budget. And so we're going to have to work with Tischler Bice in a future date to reflect your budgets again to make sure that we're matching those things. Type of tool like this is going to need a lot of care and feeding. And so I have the guy from Supersize Me on there to say, we're going to have to feed this thing. We're going to have to work with your staff on an annual basis to make sure that your budget is represented, your capital improvement plan is up to date and current and reflected in this tool. If there's any sub areas that we want to change, we can do that probably on an annual basis. We'll update this tool to make sure that it's available and it's up to date, current, accurate, and you can be confident in the answers. But I also put this in there just because I've given you a lot to chew on. I tried to get kind of the high level information about fiscal impact. Obviously, this can be a much deeper dive, but I know that you've got a full agenda tonight, so I want to respect your time, but obviously stand for any questions that you have about the tool and how Compass can help you.
You have copies of this for us? Slideshow, your slide.
Oh, the slideshow, is that something I can promise? Madam Chair.
Very interesting reading, I think, from just reading this, so I'd like to see it up close. Personally.
Great.
I do have a question. How far out can Compass plan? How many years can they plan and still be pretty accurate? Because this last few years, obviously, is kind of throwing everything out of whack, I think.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner Kirkman, great question. In fact, our long-range plans, we typically have a 30-year horizons on our regional transportation plan. The one we're working on is Communities in Motion 2050. 30 years out, we do actually pretty well. We've anywhere from 5 to 6% off, like our population forecasts are about 5 to 6% off, which considering, forecasting something 30 years from now, if you were to forecast the stock market 30 years from now and you were within 5 or 6%, I think we'd feel pretty confident about that. But you're right, it's the interim years that can be the most difficult. 1 or 2 years out, it's difficult for me to say, will City of Nampa grow by 1,000 or 10,000 in the next year, just because there's so many variables. Over the course of a long season, it kind of works itself out. There's ebbs and flows to growth and economics and every migration and everything like that. But it's those every year, 1 or 2 years out that can be very difficult.
Wouldn't it be beneficial to plan, I guess, looking at what could be maybe a 10% growth or a 15% growth? I mean, we always got to balance the budget and what we can pay and all that but it seems like that would then be able to pay. Well, what am I trying to say? I'm just thinking of the roads, like the freeway between here and Nampa. I mean, who would have thought that in 10 years we'd have to double the capacity of that freeway? Can we build, because I'm thinking of Salt Lake, and they go out and they just build all these roads where there's no houses or subdivisions yet. They're just planning way out in the future. Is that something that we could do here?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Kirkman, that's a great question too. I guess there's nothing preventing us from expending resources to areas that don't have growth, other than we're having a very difficult time keeping up with growth and just maintaining the roads that we do have. And anytime we do have additional funding, which we don't have a lot of it, we're not as big as Salt Lake and don't have as many different resource, different ways to get funding that they do. So whenever we do have funding, it kind of goes to projects that were kind of needed 10 years ago. And so if we had enough, it'd be great to say, in the next 10 years or 20 years, let's get ahead of the game. I know I've heard that Phoenix does a really good job of that, but we are very constrained and cash strapped. So unfortunately, we're still playing catch up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, can I just add to that real quickly? One thing we do, and we've talked about this in the past, is impact fees to address that new growth and make sure that as growth happens, those funds are being captured for the expansion of our roadway system. We're at a critical time where we're transitioning to impact fees to be used for that purpose. But in the past, it's been really challenging. But now that we're kind of putting a new emphasis on impact fees, that should help with some of that. And that's what we're trying to do as a city now, is address the growth with the impact fees.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Okay, approval of minutes.
I'll move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Report on council actions.
Madam Chair, can you hear me? This is Randy Haverfield.
Yes.
Okay, good. We had a somewhat light meeting on September the 20th, 4 public hearing items that would have been addressing planning and zoning issues. None of them were, major or significant. A couple of zoning map amendments and development agreement modifications. So I just wanted to concur with what was stated about the joint meeting with the City Council last Thursday night. I appreciated that opportunity to be with you guys, and I thought quite a bit was accomplish that evening and look forward to future meetings like it. I think the development of a sense of place in Nampa for people to live is important, and I think working with the local building officials, and the building authority that we have on staff, but also with the development community, I think we can accomplish great things in Nampa. So I look forward to that. And lastly, I would just again concur that appreciate your service on the Planning and Zoning Commission, Adam. Sorry to see you leave there, but look forward to being with you on the Nampa Development Corporation. So again, I really don't have a whole lot to share with our last council meeting, but if you have any questions for me at any time, please reach out to me. I'm your liaison to the City Council, so just let me know.
Thank you.
You have a good evening.
Okay. Christy, business item number 1.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The action requested from you tonight is a recommendation of approval or denial of the Broadmoor Business Park Subdivision Number 1 Final Plat. It is located on Broadmoor Way, just west of Northside Boulevard. This property is located inside the city limits and is zoned BC and IL, and is completely surrounded by other properties that are also zoned BC and IL. The preliminary plat was approved by Planning and Zoning in April of this year. The project consists of 5 commercial and or industrial lots on 4.66 acres of land. We received the standard comments from the Nampa Building Department, CenturyLink, and the Nampa Engineering Department. Staff found that the plat is acceptable because it is within the city limits and is zoned BC and IL. It conforms to the preliminary plat that was approved for Broadmoor Business Park subdivision, and it conforms to the subdivision and zoning standards as stated in city code. Should you choose to recommend approval, staff recommends the conditions as listed in your staff report and any others that you choose to impose this evening. These are your potential motions. I will stand for any questions.
Any questions for Christy? Okay.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion that we recommend to City Council approval of the subdivision final plat for Broadmoor Business Park Number 1 in an IL and BC zoning district for 5 lots on 4.67 acres at 490 North Broadmoor Way for Richard Evans, Silver Lining LLC, representing Ag Equity Holdings with all conditions.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to recommend approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Public hearings will start in 5 minutes at 7 o'clock. I'll kind of go over the rules here real quick. The applicant will come up and present. They have 7 minutes to tell us what they want to do. Then the staff will give their report, and they have as much time as they need to do that. After the staff has spoken, then we do public testimony. You will be allowed 3 minutes to tell us why you're in support, neutral, or opposed to the item. After that, the applicant gets to come back up and do some rebuttal, and then we close public hearing, we deliberate, and then it's voted on to send to council or to stop here. So that's how we'll proceed tonight, and I hope that we can keep everybody respecting people's time and not shouting out from the gallery. We've had some problems in the past, and we need people to be respectful because it's being recorded, and that disrupts the recording, and we can't get everything on the public record. Okay, so we'll start at 7. You have my... You might get out of here before midnight.
That's too little bit, 20 seconds.
I'm going to kick you under the deal if you don't start your timer right.
If I don't start my timer right. Yeah. Here's the clock police. Okay. Except for Michelle.
Here.
Yeah.
$106 million. See,
Oh,
maybe that's all of it.
this is their earnings.
This is, must be all.
This is their output.
Oh, this is the statewide impact of aviation. Oh, but that's fine.
Thank you.
I can too.
Oh, could be. Must be. Where'd you get this? I just found it out in the lobby. I grabbed it. It was pretty, so.
Yeah.
I have my dad has. He said it was awesome. He said it was awesome.
I think it's called
busy.
The old Linden Theater.
Other was a pilot. He got his license there. Boise. If the plane can't land at Boise, they go to Caldwell.
Yeah. It's the Falcon. Could be any of probably. This is old info too.
They broke.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I rose. So you got people, then it blinked. People.
Had Nampa's population at 96,000. I think we're at 100 and.
Okay, I have 7 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Public hearing number 1. We have the applicant here.
I am.
Okay,
Should be online.
go ahead and give us what an idea of what you're wanting to do.
Madam Chair, Commissioner, come before you tonight on this, what I'd like to refer to as a rezone of a rezone of a rezone. I'm embarrassed to admit we've probably screwed up the original time we came to have things turned over to RP. Everything else around us is IL, light industrial. In fact, we've got another piece, 2 parcels up at 620 that just went through as light industrial as well. And this one just snuck past us. I'm not sure why we did it this way, but I'm looking to try to get it to conform with most of the stuff around it, including the 620 piece up the street. Any usage for this, be a tenant or somebody buying it or whatever we end up doing with them. Most of these people are looking for some kind of a small manufacturing space, a small mill or lathe or things like that. And they just, it doesn't comply with RP zoning as it currently sits. So I'd like to think this is fairly straightforward what we're trying to do. I guess really that's all I've got to say.
I forgot to have you give your name and address for the record. Could you do that, please?
Excuse me, as did I. I've done this before. I used to be a rookie and hopefully be a professional here soon. So my name is Nick Barnes with WFS LLC. Address is 4022 East Summit Lane, Nampa, Idaho 83687.
Thank you. Okay, Rodney.
All right, Madam Chair, thank you. The request before you is to change the zoning map from RP to IL, as the applicant has stated, at 512 North 39th Street. And the concept that they listed for this project was for a warehouse building. and the applicant's stated purpose was to match the surrounding areas. So just a quick overview of where this is located. To the top of your screen here is Garrity Boulevard. 39th Street runs down to Airport Road, and it's about halfway down the road. As you can see there, it's in the high density residential designation on our comp plan, future land use map, but the comp plan can be stretched to one parcel deep, and so this would be compliant, this request would be compliant with that comprehensive plan, future land use map. Again, the comprehensive plan is meant to be general in nature, not specific to each parcel, so that's why we have that condition. So the, as you can see here, they recently zoned this as RP and constructed the building. It was I think I have another slide here where it talks about the purpose originally was for a contractor's office, but they built the building, and you can see there just the RP zoning next to the IL zone and surrounded by RA. To the north is the RA suburban residential, large lot residential. To the south, basically the same thing as undeveloped, though. To the east is the RA zoning designation. I think in the past we kind of used this as a placeholder. It's been a lot of years since this was zoned, but this is a Happy Valley Mobile Home Park to the east. And to the west is the IL light industrial, and to the southwest is a small parcel that's zoned RA. And has this, the interstate cargo trailers, and then that one that's RA is just a single family resident. Utilities are all available to the site. You can see that on this slide here. Here's just a quick aerial view of the property. Interstate trailers or cargo trailers here, and that residential property here. Generally, it's industrial to quite a ways to the west here, and mobile home park to the east. Okay, so just a little bit of history. May 18th, City Council approved the rezone from RA to RP for the construction office. January 2021, the building permit issued for the shell steel building, and the building was constructed in 2021, and the parking lot, last time I heard that it was still being completed. And in order to, the applicant was working with some potential resident that would come into the building. I shouldn't say a resident, a business who would locate in the building, but they needed the zoning to match that use.
Okay.
So that's the site plan. This is the building that's constructed. A couple of shots there. These are the conclusions of law that you would need to find are true for this rezone, and those are all in your staff packet. And there were just two notes of correspondence, one from the building department and one from the engineering department. Essentially, it's meet Title IV, and because there's a building already existing, they would just need to check to make sure everything's okay, that it's fire rated where it needs to be. Same thing for engineering. They would just need to check on the certificate of occupancy that it meets their standards. So we're pretty sure that that's already been done as part of the building permit, but it's just another check. So recommended conditions of approval are listed here, and here are some potential motions, and I would stand for questions.
Rodney, I have a question for you.
Okay.
The photograph shows the building is surrounded by dirt. Is there any kind of dust mitigation that's required?
Yeah, as part of construction, they have to mitigate dust. And so if there's ever a complaint, our environmental quality team goes out and works with them to ensure that the dust is mitigated. And again, they're working on that parking lot, and so that will be taken care of as soon as that's completed.
Okay, thank you.
Rodney, were there on that the original approval that gave them approval to build the building, were there conditions that they had to do frontage improvements? It doesn't look like there's any sidewalk or anything on that they've done in front of the building.
Right. Say that again? Right. So yeah, that's it though, right? Yeah, so because 39th Street is a collector instead of an arterial, we don't have the same standards that have to be met, but they do have to build a sidewalk, which is what will still happen.
Any other questions for Rodney? Okay, we'll open public hearing. I have the sign-up sheet and there's nobody signed up. Is there anybody here in attendance that would like to make a comment on this?
The applicant still available?
Yeah, he should be on the line.
Yes.
Dick, hey, with the parking lot, is it being done right now as it says in the report?
Yes, sir. And per the civil drawings and stuff, it'll match that. They poured concrete today. We've got some extruded curbing to do and asphalt. So a little bit of fill, compaction, so forth, and it'll match our drawings and be completed 100%.
Yeah, what about that sidewalk? Is there a sidewalk along the frontage?
Oh, if I could get Rodney to circle back a couple drawings. I believe so. There's sections of it. If my memory serves me correctly, the city, you guys had wanted an extra 10 feet or better or something to a 40 foot, if I remember. And so they were kind of holding off on some of that on our conditions of approval, if I remember correctly, because, you know, and that widening of 39th eventually, that would basically be torn up anyways. So it'll match what's here, is my understanding.
Good.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, the engineering department just informed me that they gave them a deferral, and so that will be done when there's sidewalks in the area and development to either side of them. They'll get that done, but we do this all the time when there's just a single property, a small section where sidewalk would go nowhere.
Thank you.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed.
I have a quick question for staff. Previous conditions in the previous rezone, do they carry over into this new application? Or do we need to add those conditions on the conditions? I don't think there's any new ones in this one, but.
Right, so they, because it's you're changing the zone, the old zone and those conditions go away.
All right.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we move to recommend to City Council approve of zoning map amendment from RP Residential Professional to IL, Light Industrial Zoning District, and potential development agreement at 512 North 39th Street for Nick Barnes with for a warehouse building with all proposed conditions of staff.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that will go on to City Council.
Thank you.
Public hearing number 2. Do we have the applicant present?
Madam Chair, I have to recuse myself from this one.
Okay.
Sorry, let me take that off while I'm talking. Where'd the black box come from? Christy, did you add that? Sorry. Jesse Christensen, HECO Engineers, 2151 West Willow Point. I'm working with Oleg and Danny on the Powerline Road Townhomes project that I'm here to talk about. I have a few slides for you, just kind of go over what we're after, what we're trying to do. And I'm confused as to why I ended up with a little black box on there this morning.
We don't know.
They found a grave there and they just tried to mark where it was.
Anyway, very good. This is working with Lawson Design to create some townhomes similar to stuff they've already built. You can go ahead and go to the next one, please. Oh, I can click it? Oh.
You're in charge.
Woohoo! I'm in charge. On South Powerline Road, as you can see, we're right along Powerline looking to put 27 units in there. We have some townhomes directly to the west of us, some multifamily to the northwest a little bit. South of us is the Hands of Hope. There's actually a sewer line running through that field right to the south of us all the way out to Powerline Road. We looked at possibly connecting to that, but it didn't really work out for us. So we'll be putting sewer in the street as per normal. Water, sewer, all of that stuff appears to be right there. Small drainage basin in the back. Slightly larger view of it. Drainage basin in the back, the 27 townhomes, all 2-story. Thank you. 2-story off Powerline Road. This doesn't represent the street improvements that need to come as per the conditions of approval that we have. We have an approved landscape plan per, I think Hoffman Landscape put this together for us. It's been preliminary approved by the city for some berms and frontage out there on the along Powerline. Just want another picture of the townhomes by Lawson, 2 stories, pretty standard. Garage, single car garage, living area, dining, kitchen, downstairs, upstairs 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. Really a nice package that they've put together. So that's really about all I had to say. So I'm here for more questions in a little bit.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Christy.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The action requested from you this evening is approval or denial of the preliminary plat for Powerline Townhomes subdivision located at 1165 South Powerline Road. The property was annexed and zoned to RML in June of this year. To the north, there is RA, which is suburban residential. It's 1 residential lot. To the south is RS6. It is a grandfathered commercial use for New Hope. To the east, Canyon County enclaved residential lots. To the west, RML, which is the Timber Creek Townhome Development. The property is located approximately 2.1 miles from the Nampa Fire Station number 1 with an approximate response time of 4 minutes. And is located 2.5 miles from the nearest police station. The city's water and sewer pressure irrigation systems have adequate capacity to serve this property. There's a 21-inch gravity sewer in Powerline, there's a 10-inch water main in Powerline, and there's a 12-inch pressurized irrigation in Powerline about 120 feet north of the property. The applicable regulations for this approval are in your staff report and here on the screen. These are the items that you'll need to take into consideration when making your decision. The correspondence we received were standard comments from the building department, Nampa code compliance in regards to maintenance of the property, the GIS division in regards to street naming, CenturyLink in regards to the location of their utilities. The police department, the fire department, and the engineering division had their standard comments. So this project proposes 26 buildable lots and 5 common lots on 1.47 acres. In this case, the master building lots shall meet or exceed 6,000 square feet for the first 2 units plus 1,350 square feet for each additional unit per structure. Therefore, the required area for 8 units is 14,100 square feet, and for 10 units is 16,800 square feet. The smallest proposed master building lot for the 8-unit structure is 14,695 square feet, which is about 595 square feet larger than it needs to be. And for the 10-unit structure is at 19,130, significantly larger. And these are divided into 8 and 10 single-family townhouse units. Therefore, the plat is deemed compliant with code in this regard. All master lots demonstrate the required lot width. The landscape plan was submitted to with the application and has been reviewed and approved by the city forester. Skyview High School is approximately a half a mile away, so it is within walking distance. West Middle School is 3.3 miles away, which is not within walking distance. Sherman Elementary School is 0.7 miles away, and it is within walking distance. And walking distance doesn't necessarily mean that it's walkable. There's a difference. These are the recommended conditions of approval that are in your staff report, and any others that you might want to add tonight. Here are your potential motions. I will stand for any questions.
Christy, I do have a quick question. As far as green space in this development I'm looking at the plot. If you could go back to this one here. I can't read it on here. It's too small.
Sorry.
Other than what the frontage on power line, is there any other green space where kids can run and jump?
Just the drainage area.
Is that what's there on the north side of the development?
The west.
That's the drainage area then, and that's the...
That is not a drainage area.
Any other questions for Christy? Do we have a sign-up sheet for this one?
Yeah. Okay, we'll cross the street.
Get the steps in for tonight.
Nobody's watching you, Parker.
It's Rodney's fault. Okay. Okay, we're going to open public hearing, and we have one person signed up, Dorina Schrader. Would like to testify?
My name down. Question. I didn't.
So you need to come up to the microphone and give us your name and address for the record, and then we can all hear you.
Want me to scream? Brenna Schrader. My personal address is 8820 Deer Flat in Nampa. I put my name down so in case I had any specific questions, but I didn't see any of the information that are in the staff reports and stuff. And I was more interested in seeing who came to oppose the project. And I wanted to find out if they did, why they did. We have property across the street. And so I will have more questions. So if I can get some of that information and maybe submit more questions post the meeting.
Well, it's gonna be voted on this evening.
On the preliminary, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
you can talk to the developer, I'm sure, and they could probably answer your questions after the meeting.
Okay, like I said, because I haven't seen any of this. I heard that it was doing it, but it's my father-in-law that's across the street. Okay. So I was interested in where the egress was, ingress, egress. Like you said, the bare spots and what they were requiring across the street as far as sidewalks and what all they were pulling for the water sewer type of stuff and where they were actually going to pull it compared to what I've talked to people before. So I don't have anything specific right now other than I'm not opposed.
Okay.
I just don't have any.
Are you wondering if on the other side of power line, if you're going to have to develop that?
No, I have a potential development that I'm kind of working on.
I see.
So one of the things they had talked to us about was getting.
Can you pull that mic down just a hair so we can?
They had talked to us about like having a neighborhood meeting and seeing if we could get the neighbors all to agree to the project. And I didn't hear anything about a neighborhood meeting for this.
Okay.
What's that? Because I'd have been interested in going to the meeting, then I could have ask questions and talk to anybody that had questions or concerns, because I know at least two above, north from, right across from RA, I know they're opposed to some of the developments, and I don't know if they've talked to those people about that and other people across. So I've talked to the people around there. But opposition, and if I get cards and numbers so that I can be in contact with them and maybe even get the information that you guys have, what she keeps referring to as a packet. A what?
Online.
Staff report?
It's online.
It's online. It's public.
It's on the planning and
So
zoning.
it's like a public request thing?
No,
You can go online and download
the document
from our
you
agenda
can?
center. Mm-hmm.
Oh, because I was down there today, and since your lobby's closed, they said, go here, 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 and do a public records request.
Oh, yeah, you can go straight onto our agenda center and download our agendas with our staff reports.
The Nampa US.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And go where?
The agenda center.
Agenda center? Okay.
You can do the same for any of our items and any of city council are on there.
For the city council. Because one of the other reasons I was there today was looking at a project, but it's on the other side of town. They had questions about, and that's where she told me I had to go, was do a public records request. But it's a project that's in progress.
If it's anything on our agenda or on city council's agenda, you can just go to the nampa.us website, go to planning and zoning, click on the agenda center, and the date of the meeting, there will be a link for it, and you can download the entire packet.
Oh, okay. She didn't tell me that today. I guess I didn't ask the right questions.
Well,
thanks, sir. Okay, I don't have any other questions.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody in attendance that would like to speak on this? Do you want to address the egress question and?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
In the neighborhood meeting too.
At the neighborhood meeting, I don't believe the city of sorry, let's get back up here. Jesse Christensen, HECO Engineers, 2151 West Willow Point. Ingress egress is just a little bit south of the that property line there in the middle. Yeah, about where Christy's pointing on the map. There's a power pole that needs to be relocated a few feet to the north. So it's pretty close to that power pole, just underneath that power pole. I don't believe the city of Nampa requires a neighborhood meeting. I'm not sure if Danny talked to neighbors out there or not, but we didn't have one that I know of. Other than that, were there any other questions?
Utilities?
Utilities. Oh, it's in our plan set. You guys should have a copy of that. Water, sewer will be in power line adjacent to where they are right now currently. I can't remember which side of the road they're on. What's that?
Where the manhole cover?
Yes, there's a manhole cover down by New Hope. We'll be coming north with that up to the property. And then I believe we have to go to the far edge of the property, but I cannot truly remember how that was going to go. Water, everything needs to be extended to the border, I believe. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Once you've testified, we can't have you come back up. You'll have to talk to him after the meeting.
Yeah.
Only allowing.
You need to either come up here with the chair or.
Well, she's already testified, so you'll have to, we had a chance for that, but you get your chance to testify. You don't get to come back up and ask again and again. So if you have questions of the staff, you can call planning and zoning tomorrow and they can answer any questions. And it might be in the packet. When you see it, you'll be able to see everything that we had in front of us. Sorry. All right, and
Christy, looks like page 80 of the staff report, there's a list. It looks like what would be generated for a neighborhood meeting. So it has parcel numbers with the residents and their addresses. Is that generated for that purpose, for that meeting, or what is that list for, do you know?
Commissioner Garner, that's our distribution list. Those are the notices that we send out for this public hearing. The city does not currently have a requirement for a neighborhood meeting. The new code that will go into effect on October 5th will have a requirement for a neighborhood meeting.
Right, okay, thank you.
We recommend that they do it, but they don't have to.
We need to close public hearing.
Motion to close.
Did someone make a motion?
Brett was just doing
He
it.
was going to, but you have a question. Go ahead.
I do have a quick question for the applicant, if you don't mind. I need you to come back up. It's in regard to the neighborhood meeting. I'm just curious, with a project this large in that area, why didn't you reach out to the neighbors and kind of get their input? And
I'm not really sure why we didn't. We didn't, it wasn't required, so.
Right.
So I don't know.
Okay.
We didn't do it.
All right.
So.
I appreciate that answer. Thank you.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Well, Madam Chair, it doesn't look like anybody's going to jump in there, so I guess I'll do it. Make motion to approve the subdivision preliminary plat for Power Line Townhouse subdivision at 1165 South Power Line Road, approximately 2-acre parcel in southeast quarter of the northeast section for Annual Jevic, representing Zenith Homes. All the conditions of staff listed in the report.
Second.
Who seconded that? Adam, okay.
I'll let you because it's one of your last meetings.
Yeah. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the preliminary plat. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Hopefully you'll go talk to her so that you can answer her questions that we weren't able to. Okay, public hearing number 3. We have the applicant here for that. Okay.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name is Jeff Bauer. My address is 601 West Bannock. With me tonight from the development team, Toll Brothers, is Ryan Hammonds and Adam Capel. They're here available to answer any questions, site-specific questions you might have that I can't answer. And also with us is Sonia DeLeiden from Kittleson and Associates. She's our traffic engineer for this project. So we're here tonight to talk about the Sweetwater Glen subdivision. Before I do, I want to give just a brief background on Toll Brothers. We're new-ish to Nampa. We've done a lot of projects in the Treasure Valley since 2016. In Nampa, we have Carriage Hill and the Canyon Creek projects, which are ongoing. Just again, wanted to emphasize that Toll Brothers does have a large local presence here in the Treasure Valley, employ approximately 180 Idahoans. And we are not just a development company. We take projects from the entitlement phase that we're at now, all the way through building permit and construction. So we do put a lot of emphasis on architecture and community amenities, and we hope to show you that tonight. So we are here on the Sweetwater Glen subdivision. This project is located at the northwest corner of Madison Road and Ustick Road. The site's 76 acres. It is already annexed into the city. It has RS 8.5 zoning. It was annexed in 2006 as part of a project called Water's Edge that never got off the ground. The comprehensive plan does designate this property as medium density residential. Just want to highlight real quick all the development that's going on in the area around us. We'll get into this some more in the rezone specific, but to our west is a single family residential subdivision, Heartland. To our east is another residential subdivision, RS7. That's the Ridgeview Estates project. And then across Ustick to the east and to the west, we have additional residential projects going on. Also worth noting, just to our north, the Ridgeline High School, and then to the west, we have elementary school, which is the Canyon East Canyon Elementary. So we do have 3 applications before you tonight. The first is a rezone application. Then we're going to talk about the subdivision, and finally a development agreement modification. Covering the zoning first, as I mentioned, we are currently zoned RS 8.5. We're asking to go to RS 7. We think the RS7 zoning designation is appropriate here because it does comply with the comprehensive plan. As I mentioned, here's a snapshot of the comprehensive plan. All of this area, including the site, is zoned medium density residential, which the comp plan calls for densities in the range of 2 to 8.5. Our project's going to be right around 3, so within that range. The zoning's also proper in this case because we will be compatible with the zoning and the uses around us. As I briefly mentioned, we have single family residential neighborhoods all around this area, and we have RS7 zoning immediately to our west and some additional RS7 zoning to the east. That's part of that Ridgeview Estates project. So overall, we do agree with the planning staff on the rezone here. We think it's in the best interests of the city to rezone this property to RS7. It allows for us to fulfill the housing need. It fulfills the city's comprehensive plan, and it also will allow for more open space amenities on the site while delivering the same number of houses that the current RS 8.5 zoning would. So turning to the to the subdivision, here is our kind of rough landscaping plan that shows the platted lots. We are proposing 226 single family lots. We are meeting all of the city's RS7 design standards for the project. We're not asking for any waivers or deviations from the lot standards or setbacks or size minimums. As I mentioned, the gross density will be 2.95 units per acre, and our average lot size will be just over 8,000 square feet at 8,042. I should mention, if you guys want to interrupt me at any time, go for it. Any questions? We are offering a significant amount of open space on this project. Approximately 10 acres of common area dedicated open space will be owned and maintained by the HOA. That's 13% of the total site. The open space, as you can see on this map, the green areas will again, those lots will be dedicated to the HOA, and we've carefully planned these to be spread out throughout the community. So each one of these homes has not only access to the centralized community amenities, but also a local area of open space to use. I want to highlight a couple of our open space amenities. I'm going to flip back and forth here, but we have a central park, which is going to include a pool with a pool house. It's going to be a tot lot there and a picnic area. And I'll flip back to the map. So that's down there towards the south at the main entrance. You can see the pool and the tot lot. Second, I want to emphasize our large north side park. We'll have additional playground equipment at the north side. This will be a 1.2 acre park with seating areas. And you can see that up at that northeast corner. And then lastly, the last one I want to highlight is we are building a 20 foot wide regional pathway along the Purdom Drain. And that is part of the city's master pathway plan. So that'll provide that master connectivity through our site and to other subdivisions in the area. And again, just flipping back, that is at the south side here. So the blue area is the Purdom Drain easement. Just to the north of that will be the 20 foot wide pathway, the regional pathway. These are some mock-ups of the amenities. Up top will be something very similar to this as our centralized amenity with the pool, the tot lot, and the picnic area, covered picnic area, as well as green space. And then this is a mock-up of what we think that regional pathway will look like through our site. Just because you guys have great new GIS tools, I thought I'd make a copy of it and show you. We do, in fact, the master plan does show that dotted green line is the regional pathway, and we are going to construct that on our frontage. Utilities. Given all of the residential development in the area, it's probably not a surprise, but we have water, sewer, pressurized irrigation on our frontages already, and Public Works and planning staff have indicated that those all have capacity to serve us. On traffic, we do have Sonia Delyden here from Kittleson tonight if there are any specific questions, but again, we've worked with planning staff closely on this. We are making all the city code required improvements to our frontages on Madison and Ustick. There's also a mid-mile collector at the very north of the project. That's going to be Spruce Street. We're going to dedicate the right-of-way for Half Street section and also build a Half Street section of that mid-mile collector. Additional traffic mitigation, we are making a proportionate share payment for traffic improvements at Linder and Madison. We're working with staff to pin down that number now, but that is a condition of approval that we make that proportionate share contribution. And then lastly, we are still working with staff to hone the details of our Ustick Road access and the improvements that are needed there. But again, we're going to make all those improvements to the extent we're able with our frontage and right of way. This is a multi-phase plan, 6 phases. We want to start in 2022, and we hope to have final build out in 2024. I do want to highlight that phase 1 down there towards the south will construct our main entrance. Signs, beautify the streetscape on Ustick. Another thing that Toll Brothers always does is we always build our primary amenity in phase 1 so that all of the residents from day 1 have access to that. So that pool and common lot area will be in phase 1, as well as a significant portion of the regional pathway will be constructed as well. I want to touch briefly on the architecture of the community. We are going to have two distinctive styles and sizes of homes in this project. So the garden collection is the slightly smaller style of home. These will be towards the center of the project. They will be homes ranging from 1,200 to 2,400 square feet. And then our larger lots, we call this the woodland collection. These homes range from 2,000 square feet to 3,000 square feet. Again, we're asking for a rezone tonight, a subdivision to divide the 76 acres into our 226 residential lots. And then the development agreement modification is really just reflecting those changes, the new plat to update what was approved in 2006. And again, we feel we meet all the standards. We do have staff support on this, and I'd stand for any questions if there are any.
Yeah, just so I heard you right, you're going to a little bit higher density to accommodate open space, no additional homes?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Kirkman, I haven't done a lot count, but what the DA from 2006 says is that the density shall not exceed 3 dwelling units per acre. And we are slightly below that at 2.95.
Was that a change from what you currently are looking at with the zoning?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Kirkman, a change in terms of the lot sizes or?
Yeah, I mean, are you, because I think you said, if I remember right, you said that you're not changing the number of houses, but you're adding green space. So that's just what I wanted to make sure that I heard, is that you're accommodating more green space, which I think that's a great.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner Kirkman, I anticipated this question, so I think I have a slide. And again, I did not go back and count the lots from the plat in 2006, but I believe this plat isn't, or this slide is instructive. So again, what the DA said from 2006 was not to exceed 3 units per acre. And we're not doing that.
Okay.
And so if you look on the left here, that's the concept plan and the current DA. Not a lot of green space. It's mostly the canal easements. And so, yeah, we want to add more green space and make slightly smaller lots.
Perfect. Thank you.
Jeff, like Commissioner Kirkland, I was concerned when I saw the reduction in lot sizes from the 8.5 to 7. But your presentation and what you're planning on doing with the open space, to me, made up for the difference. So if you hadn't done that, I probably would have been saying no.
Appreciate that, Commissioner Kehoe. And we're doing that because we found that that's what our residents like, or they like those common open spaces.
Yep, they do.
And the pool.
I live in a neighborhood with a pool. Believe me, they're not worth it.
Thank you.
All right, no more questions.
We may have questions at the end. We'll see. Okay, Christy.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I don't have a lot to add to that. That was a lot of information. The actions requested from you this evening are a recommendation of approval or denial of the zoning map amendment from RS 8.5 to RS 7, a development agreement modification, and the preliminary plat for Sweetwater Glen subdivision at 8620 Ustick Road. This property was annexed and zoned to RS 8.5 in April of 2006, but the proposed development was never completed. He covered the surrounding uses, so I won't take up your time with that. This development is located approximately 2.3 miles from Nampa Fire Station number 3 with an approximate response time of 6 minutes. The city's water, sewer, and pressurized irrigation systems do have adequate capacity to serve this project, and they will be responsible to construct utilities to and through the property at the time of development. This is your applicable regulations for zoning to be considered in your decision, and this is the applicable regulation for the platting. The comments that were received were from the building department, the Bureau of Reclamation, and Pioneer Irrigation in regards to the Purdom Drain, Canyon Highway District number 4, Parks Department, City Forester, CenturyLink, Fire Department, Police Department, and Engineering, all with standard conditions or comments that are in your staff report. So as you know, a development agreement is ultimately a contract between the city and the developer. This request is to replace the existing development agreement in its entirety. It was adopted with ordinance number 3564 in April of 2006. It had a concept plan based on the RS 8.5 standards. They will be replacing the agreement with new conditions of approval and the RS 7 zoning concept that you see here tonight for Sweetwater Glen. So all the areas immediately adjacent to this are single-family residential subdivisions with some single-family residential lots that are still in Canyon County. The property has been zoned RS 8.5. Applicant is requesting RS 7 because RS 8.5 lots would be 8,500 square foot lots. RS 7 requires averaging of the lots to 8,000 square feet, and I will go over that when we go through the platting. So they do meet the density requirements as outlined in the existing development agreement and also in our comprehensive plan. The traffic impact study, he went over that a little bit. I'm not going to go through all of that. Just to let you know that Nampa Highway District number 1 and Canyon Highway District number 4 both have jurisdiction over Ustick Road, and they will both be involved in the review and approval of the construction plans for this project. The study has been reviewed and approved by our staff, and it identifies triggered impacts and mitigation to be addressed by this development. So in regards to the plat, as we noted, all lots shall meet or exceed 7,000 square feet in area. However, 20% of these lots can be considered infill lots. In this case, it's 45 lots, so the smallest infill lot would be 6,239 square feet. The smallest standard lot is 7,135 square feet. The average lot size required for the RS7 zone is 8,000 square feet. There's 226 buildable lots. When 20% of the largest and 20% of the smallest standard lots are removed, the average lot size is 8,042 square feet. So that's how we calculate that. As far as lot compatibility goes, that is something that they will need to work on with some lots that are on the east side of the property, lots 31 and 32, block 2. They shall meet or exceed 10,000 square feet because they are only 80 feet away from the Frosty Acres properties that are still in Canyon County. So that will need to be corrected on their final plat. The Nampa Forester has requested a revised landscape plan to select an alternate species of tree because we have an ash borer problem. They did state that there are 9.9 acres of open space, which is 12.93%, all proposed within 32 common lots, and he outlined those amenities for you. Ridgeview High School is 175 feet away. It's walkable. Sage Valley Middle School is 1.56 miles away, is not within walking distance, and East Canyon is 0.6 miles away, and when Spruce Street is developed, will be within walking distance. So should the commission choose to approve these requests, staff recommends approval with the conditions as listed in your staff report. This is your potential motion for your rezone, for the DA mod, for the preliminary plat, and I will stand for any questions.
Any questions for Christy? Do we have a sign-up sheet for this one? All right, we're going to open public hearing, and we have for the proposal, it looks like it. Oh my goodness, Ryan and Hammer? Hammonds. Okay. Okay, anybody else present that would like to speak for the proposal? Okay, against the proposal, we have Belinda McBurney.
I'm Belinda McBurney. I live at 11914 Iowa. And tonight, this is going to be a little bit long. So John Redding is surrendering his time to me, as is Marilyn.
Okay.
Hopefully I don't have to sit down in the middle of this because I'm not doing well tonight. Are we ready? I hope it works. We had some difficulties, my son and I. I'll start out. The pictures of what I'm describing will be played as I speak, will remind you of the human aspect of your decisions. I had to pray all day, and only by the grace of God am I here tonight, as I am not feeling well. In September 2018, when we got notice you would be considering a massive development around and in between my neighbors called Carriage Hill West, I was 2 weeks out from surgery then, and ironically, I'm 2 weeks out from surgery tonight. Seems like tonight's the night that I'm supposed to speak.
Linda.
It seems that Mary Kay Wood somehow subverted her father's wishes that the farmland remain farmed by the sons as long as they wanted to.
And this is on the subdivision?
This is Toll Brothers. This has to do with Toll Brothers and your decision.
Okay.
Okay? So
These aren't the townhomes out by Carriage Hill, though. This is not that project.
this is about Carriage Hill West and your decisions as a whole as development and the impact to the citizens of this community with a total lack of regard as to what happens when you just blatantly approve without talking to citizens, even coming out and looking. So I'd like to finish.
Okay.
It seems Mary Kay Wood somehow subverted her father's wishes that the farmland remain farmed by the sons as long as they wanted to, and sold it out from underneath the surviving son, John, who was still farming the land but was recovering from surgery. So Toll Brothers, a $6.74 billion company headquartered in Pennsylvania, bought the property. That was devastating for John to see the land he toiled and worked so hard with his brother Jerry and father, both who are now in heaven for most of their life, covered in all these homes. September just seems to be my worst month. When I appeared before you in 2018, you didn't want to hear us. You already had your minds made up. And tragically and unexpectedly, I lost my younger sister, and my mother died in September, and my best friend. Where I'm getting is, it was she who suggested and bought my mother's memorial tree. We called it her Grinch tree. That was planted by my sons on the property to watch over us. So I could look at every room, including my chair. It now honors all three of their lives. I mentioned the Grinch tree first because it is by far the worst emotional experience out of all that we have endured. Toll Brothers promised that they would not touch that tree, but desecrated that tree when they cut 2 huge branches out of the middle of it. Every day I have to look at that. A tree arborist last spring was horrified by what they did. We all loved Christmas and the Grinch. You'll see pictures. I have such great memories. My mother made that Grinch costume. It was one of my last most wonderful memories of her. Every year at Christmas, I do charity events, go to schools, the last being a fundraiser for West Valley Animal Shelter. So it was only appropriate to put a Grinch tree in her memory. The pictures playing on the screen show that tree appearing in so many of our stunning photos of the view that was most likely going to disappear.
Excuse me. I'm sorry to interrupt. Madam Chair, I need to make a point of order here because I understand where you're coming from and I understand why you're saying this. However, we have this item on the agenda.
Right, and you're going to approve it without thinking.
Excuse me. It is specific to this item on the agenda.
Right.
That's it. We don't need to necessarily hear all about this tree and...
You need to hear the impact to the people that you allowed to be carved out and destroyed.
We are looking at this one specific...
That's going to impact people just the same way, right?
This one specific agenda item. That's my point of order, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
But you need to hear the impact on the citizens of this community. That is what I am doing.
We are...
And I think that you owe me that. We have spent 2.5 years, my neighbor and I and my other neighbors, 2.5 years in misery because you allowed our properties to be cut out.
I just made my point of order. It's up to the chair.
So do you live within 300 feet of this? No. Okay.
So in other words, you're not going to hear what your decisions impact people.
No, if you can get to your point, you're taking 3 people's talking time and talking about an area that is not related to this.
It's about development as a whole and the impact on the people that are already there. That's my point.
Okay.
Okay? So if you don't want to hear it, I'll be happy to supply it to you in writing and maybe even send it off to the media so they can see what we've lived and endured with.
Well, we just need you to get to the point.
Okay.
Please.
Well, if they surrendered their time to me, then you would be listening to them. So what's the difference?
Well, if they're talking about this one project that we're talking about.
So in other words, development as a whole, the development that is rampant right now, that is affecting every citizen. You want to hear the impact? Do you want to hear the impact? This is a story of 2.5 years of a miserable existence because you allowed this.
But this is not the forum to talk about development.
And what is the forum? The city council?
We're talking about this one item. That's what we're here to discuss.
Okay, and I'm talking about this specific developer and what was done around our property, so that these people that you're going to approve this development on are going to live exactly the same way that we have. Isn't that important to hear?
If we can hear, if you can sum it up quickly, please.
Okay. So I will let you know that our properties have been destroyed by this construction. We have spent 2.5 years in our home, our sanctuary, listening to the noise, 6:30 a.m. till 7 p.m. Then when they construction and dig up everything, which they will do, they will cover the property in dirt. It will be damaged and destroyed. Who's going to rectify that? And why? None of you, not one of you up there, I'm calling you out, would live like this. Not one of you. And why you expect the citizens of Nampa to spend 2 and 3 years with all that they put into their homes to live like this is just incredibly ridiculous. That's what I'm saying. The development, it's rampant. You're not even stopping to think of the impact. So, I mean, I had a lot more to say, but you don't want to hear it, and you really don't care, obviously.
We do care.
No, you don't.
We want to respect everybody's time here, and respect the developer and the city staff and our time to talk about the one item that we're here to decide on.
Okay, so then I'll just come back when it's on development as a whole. And I'll tell the full story. What I'm saying, though, is the impact. Who's going to clean up this mess? Who's going to restore the properties? Did any of you even consider that? Are you considering, when you're doing all these approvals for development, how is it going to impact all the residents that have put their heart and soul and their finances into their house? And how are we going to come back and clean up after a $6.74 billion corporation? The city owns this, as does Toll Brothers. I am here to make sure that nobody lives through what we have lived through, the past 2.5 years. Every person should be told in that vicinity of where you're putting these developments and approving them that moving forward, this is what you're going to live through. And if you sit there and go, whoa, no, they should have to buy your house at fair market value. So you need to hear and know the impact of your decision and how it's affecting every single resident that's already been there. And I'm not going to go into the speech I worked on all day because you really don't care and you don't want to hear it. So I will be back up for the next one.
Okay, is there anybody else present that would like to speak on this? Did you want to come back up, Jeff?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Just real quick, planning staff did mention a couple of conditions related to lot sizes, lot 31, lot 32, as well as comments from the forester. Those are already included in your conditions of approval tonight, and we agree to those conditions to enlarge those buffer lots and replace that tree species. I do just want to briefly touch on Ms. McMurney's comments. We certainly do understand the impacts of development on our neighbors. We did hold a neighborhood meeting for this project. We've communicated with the neighbors on this project. We've addressed some of their concerns, and none of them are here tonight. We do always comply with city codes and all construction best practices. And I do want to point out that we have spoken with Ms. McMurney over the last 1.5 years, 2 years. We have cleaned her home, interior, exterior, window washing, pressure washing, and we've also committed to do that one more time at her request.
So, excuse me, so on the comments that you received in the public, in your neighborhood meeting, what kind of concerns did those, what kind of concerns came up in that neighborhood meeting?
Yeah, generally buffer lots, which we've met with city standards. And then also one of the biggest concerns we heard was access to the canal pathways. Apparently neighbors in the area use those quite a bit for recreation. And so as we talked about, we're going to construct that regional pathway. And then there's actually another canal north of Purdom that folks use quite a bit, and they wanted to ensure that we weren't going to block that access, which we are.
And you're okay with that? You're going to ensure that they have access to those?
Well, we will not block access. Ultimately, as you all know, it's the canal company's decision to decide who can walk in their right of way, but we're happy to facilitate folks on that pathway.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I'd entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Steve and Brett. Okay, so moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed. There's 3 different motions. Or questions for staff, if you guys have any. Everybody is.
Well, Madam Chair, move this along. I would make the recommendation to approve this zoning map amendment from the RS 8.5 to the RS 7 zoning district for the addresses stipulated in the application, 8620 Eustic Road, for a sum total of 75.9 acres for Sweetwater Glen subdivision for Toll Brothers, represented by Louis Asamendi, something like that. Sorry if I messed this up. And with all the conditions listed in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to recommend approval for the zoning map amendment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that goes on to City Council.
And for the DA modification, also recommend to the City Council approval of the development agreement modification ordinance number 3564, addressed as 8620 Eustic Road, for a sum total of 75.9 acres for Sweetwater Glen subdivision for Toll Brothers, represented by Louis again, and with all conditions of the city in the staff report.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of the development agreement modification. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And lastly, the preliminary plat. I make the motion to recommend approval of the subdivision preliminary plat to allow for 226 residential zone parcels totaling 41.7 acres, 32 common lots totaling 17.2 acres, and 5 common drive lots totaling 17 acres, for a sum total of 75.9 acres located at Southwest Section 34, Sweetwater Glen subdivision for Toll Brothers, represented by Louis again, and with all the conditions listed in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the preliminary plat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, public hearing number 4. We have the applicant here.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
she has a request.
I was going to ask if we could do it after this one before the
Yeah,
last.
I was going to do it right after this. Do we have the applicant here for public hearing number 4? Come on down.
Oh, you're just skating right out of here.
Thank you very much.
great to be here with you tonight. My name is Jerem Wagoner, address 11846 Linden Road, applicant's representative for this request before you tonight. It's great to be with you. Appreciate your time and everything that you do for the city of Nampa and putting up with us. So this is a request for an annexation and zoning for an RD for the zoning designation, along with a preliminary plat request for 18 residential lots. Those 18 residential lots are planned for 4-plex units on each of them. We've appreciated the staff's time and working with us and working through this request. They've been great and very helpful on everything that we've asked of them and answering our questions. This project, as you can see there before you, really feel that it fits in good with this area. This area is changing significantly and rapidly, and we believe that this will provide a much needed amenity to the area for the people that are needing to have an apartment style living. As we know, home prices are continuing to go up and the need for apartments is continuing to increase. So we believe that this is a great area for that. It's very close to schools, to shopping, to freeway access, all of those things that you want to have nearby, to churches for this type of development. East Canyon Elementary is directly to the north of this project, just one property away, and then Ridgeview High School is just to the east, so very close for both of those. And then the new north side exit off-ramp is just to the south, so easy freeway access as well. And the amenities included on this, let's see if I can get this to work. So there are, I know that's, there we go. I know it's tough to see on the screen. Oh, did I do that, Christy? Oh boy, I'll just put that down. So we'll let Christy do the driving. Hopefully they can get us back to there. So we do have proposed, as it shows on the landscape plan there, a community playground and picnic shelter located in the central location of the development for the kids to be able to come out and play, as well as another picnic shelter located in the southeast portion of the property. So again, we want to make sure that, you know, there is the school ground obviously close by, but you want to have some amenities within the site as well for those kids that will be living in the complex to be able to come out and play and get out and to enjoy the outside. Again, feel that this really fits in with this area with the change that's been going on, provides some needed housing for this area and for the residents to have something affordable that they can be able to live in. And with that, I would stand for any questions you may have.
I have a question. Looking at your rendering up there, what are those little brown things in the middle of the road?
That's a great question, and we actually were looking at that earlier. So those were, I believe, inadvertently added by the landscape architect. So the parking will be in those areas, and so there will be parking along all the frontages of where those 4-plexes are shown. And those, I don't know if it was just a layer that was accidentally added by the landscape architect, but really did not designate anything. So there will be parking along the front of those, but that's a great question. I had that same question 10 minutes ago and got it answered. So. Okay.
Is that parking going to be covered, or is it just surface with no cover parking?
So just surface parking.
If I may finish, if Mr. Kirkland is finished. I like the rendering that you have up there. It's a lot of trees. Will you have near that many trees, or is that just something to fool us?
No, that is, there will be most likely a development agreement going along with this. And so what you see is what you get. So yes, those trees will be in, lots of shade. Trees, provide great amenity to a residential subdivision. And so yes, those are not just there to look pretty, but to be planted and to grow and to be part of this development.
Thank you. And I leave the floor for Senator Kirkman.
I like all the trees.
Okay, we'll hear from staff and we may have questions for you.
Thank you.
Ready for you.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The action requested, there's 2 items. First, the annexation and zoning to RD. And the second being the subdivision preliminary plat for Wood Poppy subdivision. The surrounding zoning to the north is RS7, being the Heartland subdivision. Also to the east is the same subdivision. To the south is currently in the county, and to the west is in the county as well. Those are, we have applications coming forward on those as well in the near future. A single family home sits in the middle of the development and will remain. Services, the city's water, sewer, pressure irrigations have adequate capacity to serve this property. Those are present in the nearby streets. The nearest fire station, 2.7 miles, 8-minute response time. Nearest police station is 5.3 miles. The applicable regulations for annexation that must be contiguous with already zoned city properties. These are the applicable regulations for the zoning, and those are in the staff report, so I won't cover those. Correspondence, we received regular correspondence from building department. The Nampa Parks Department requested a 20-foot easement along the north side of the drain for a pathway that is called for in the bike and ped plan. Nampa Code Compliance has a case open for weeds on the property. Canyon Highway District number 4 has some jurisdiction over there. They had submitted a letter with recommendations for approaches and frontage. That letter is in the staff report. The engineering comments, they will be dedicating 50 feet from U-Stick and from north side. As well as additional right-of-way for the roundabout at the intersection. Frontage improvements will be required. This development does not meet the threshold for a traffic impact study. They have consulted with CR Engineering to prepare a turn lane warrant analysis for the accesses. The land uses in the area are consists of RS7 zoned properties with 2 county parcels. Design review will be required for this development. The comprehensive plan has this designated as medium density residential. The RD zone allows for the fourplex developments. The density for this subdivision is a gross density of 7.57. Net density of 10.37, which is within the limit of the medium density, which ranges from 2.5 to 8 dwelling units an acre. Nampa has determined that it's in the public interest to provide a range of development, single family and multifamily development opportunities. The schools within that this development will attend: Ridgeville High School is 1.3 miles, Sage Valley Middle School is 1.7 miles, East Canyon Elementary is 0.4 miles. Compass did an analysis. The ratio of housing to jobs indicates that more jobs would be needed. There's farmland being consumed with this development. The nearest bus stop is 1.8 miles, nearest park 2.1, grocery store is 3.6 miles away. Regarding the plat, because it is the development is proposed in an RD zoning district, all master lots need to meet or exceed 7,000 square feet in area. The smallest buildable lot here for the fourplexes meets that requirement, therefore it's deemed compliant in that regard. The average lot, the subdivisions in the RD zone are exempt. The compatibility as well are exempt. Lot widths, the project is deemed to meet the lot width requirements. Landscaping, a landscape plan was reviewed by the city forester and no corrections were requested. The proposed open space is mostly on the same lots as the fourplex structures. There's one common lot, as the applicant had discussed. Excluding the landscape buffer and open space, the open space is calculated at 18%. The pathway, as I had mentioned earlier, is requested along the canal, the Purdom Gulch Drain. Parking, the amount of parking will be calculated at 2 spaces per unit. And this project has provided 162, which is sufficient. Here's the landscape plan. Conditions of approval are those in the staff report, and I won't cover those unless you have specific questions. And there are 2 motions for you, and I will stand for any questions.
Any questions for Parker? Do we have a sign-up sheet? Did you give it to me? Nobody signed up. Okay. We'll open public hearing. Is there anybody here that would like to speak on this? You guys have any questions for the applicant?
Madam Chair, make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Did we lose Michelle?
Aye.
Ah, there she is. Okay. Okay, public hearing is closed.
Unsettle you guys. Come on, step up.
Adam needs to do it. It's his last meeting.
Yeah, that's right, Adam. Your last meeting.
2 more meetings.
2 more.
One of which I'll miss.
We'll get prepared now.
We're trying to kick you out early.
I haven't heard from you tonight.
Madam Chair, I think it's a good-looking project. Will provide housing units that are needed in that area. You got a lot of single family over there, and this will be a good transitory project, I guess you could call it. Provide better housing types. So if there's no other discussion, I'll go ahead and make the motion. I'd like to make the motion to recommend approval of the annexation and zoning to RD at 0 Northside Boulevard, a 9.51 acre parcel for Jerem Wagner and Trilogy Development, representing Corey Barton Endurance Holdings LLC, with all conditions listed in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the recommendation or recommend approval for the annexation and zoning. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that goes on to City Council.
And Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the subdivision preliminary plat for Wood Poppy subdivision, 72 multifamily units on 18 buildable lots and 7 common lots, a 9.51 acre parcel at 0 Northside Boulevard for Jerem Wagner and Trilogy Development, representing Corey Barton Endurance Holdings LLC, with all conditions listed in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve the preliminary plat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're going to take a break till 8:30 and then we'll go on to our last one.
Jerem.
I can't.
Turn the damn thing off.
Going to shut up so you can say something on record?
No. Oh, mine's not turning on. Yeah, I just didn't notice. I just didn't know what point he had ventured into. No, my Yeah, I was just curious because I hadn't heard one of it yet. Where are some other, does he have any that are, I was just curious, oh, my brother.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you sit around too long. Everybody's gonna figure out they can make, and they're beautiful homes. They're like huge. That neighborhood. Yeah. Yeah. I was just curious. It would be interesting to see multifamily. You know. But that's not that bad. I'm sure I'll run into them soon. Thanks, Sharon. They're doing.
I talked to our planning and zoning director, and we're going to stick to the 3 minutes per person, and we're not going to have people cede their time to another individual. We're going to let everybody talk themselves. If there is a HOA representative that wants to speak for the entire HOA, they can come and speak for 3 minutes and get the point across for everybody in the subdivision as well. We allow that. Okay, so we got public hearing item number 5. We have the applicant.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, my name is Glenn Walker, 1831 East Overland Road, Meridian, Idaho. And I want to first apologize that I'll be reading my notes because I'm not overly great at memorization. So we are presenting this project for the development agreement and preliminary plat for what we are calling Falcon Townhomes. The project will consist of 19 buildings, which are 4 units per building, and each unit will look like a townhome style residence where it will be a 2-story townhome. This property is already zoned RD zone, which does allow this type of development. Our density is way less than what normally is for an RD zone. Location of this project is located north of Lake Lowell Avenue and west of Middleton Road with frontage on Lake Lowell Avenue, which is classified as a collector. We did provide a 50-foot public right-of-way for Lake Lowell Avenue, and frontage road improvements will be implemented in accordance with the Nampa City Code. A traffic impact study was prepared for the site on June 6th, 2007. The study indicated that the right turn lane was warranted. All internal roads that we are going to be proposing for this development will be private. The development will also provide the CC&Rs with a final plat submittal. Access connection to South Sabin River Way will be gated as an emergency only access with knockbox or equivalent. The developer will provide a pathway along the south side of the canal. The existing box culvert at Lake Lowell Avenue Canal Crossing will be extended to facilitate construction of the proposed site access right turn lane and a pathway. The developer will coordinate and be under the guidelines and regulations of Nampa Meridian Irrigation District. The utilities for this project, as for the utilities, the city maintains the following utilities: an 8-inch gravity sewer main, an 8-inch water main, also a 12-inch water main, a 6-inch pressure irrigation line, as well as another 12-inch pressure irrigation main. The city sewer, water, and pressure irrigation systems have adequate capacity to serve this project. The developer will construct utilities in and throughout the property at the time of the development. All City of Nampa requirements for the utilities will be adhered to. Drainage for this project: the property is not located in a defined floodplain. The developer will adhere to all the requirements from the City of Nampa. As far as irrigation, there is the Deer Flat Nampa Canal, which runs along the south and west property boundaries. And a license agreement with Nampa Meridian Irrigation District will again be adhered to. Again, the developer will adhere to all the utilities, drainage requirements that the City of Nampa will place on this for this project. And as for the development agreement, the type of land use that we're talking about is in the nearby area are single-family residential to the north and to the south, and commercial to the east. The development proposes 28 fourplexes units and 48 single-family attached units for a total of 76 units on a total of 7.8 acres. Comprehensive plan: the future land use designation is medium density residential, and the RD zoning district allows for fourplex structures without a conditional use. The proposed gross density for this project is 9.74 units per acre, which is above the amount indicated in comprehensive plan. Generally, however, zero lot line projects are permitted a higher density due to the nature of townhomes being single structures under a separate ownership. Medium density residential with a gross density of 2.51 and 8 dwelling units per acre. This is the most common land use setting in the Nampa area of city impact. The character is more urban than rural, but can contain rural elements such as open space. The land use setting contains single-family detached homes, patio homes, townhomes, medium-density apartments, and duplexes and condominiums. These units will be highly compatible with the adjoining properties. High-density development is not allowed in this land use development, and I want to really reiterate that, again, this development is a medium-density project. It is not a high-density development. For the preliminary plat, overall site acres is 7.8 acres. Total proposed lot count is 56. Total common lot count is 1. And the total building lot count is 55. Density, medium density, 9.74 dwelling acres per unit. Proposed development is slated for development in conjunction with the RD zoning. All master building lots meet or exceed 7,000 square feet in area. The smallest standard buildable lot is 14,453 square feet. Therefore, the plat is deemed compliant. Average lot size development is in compliant. Lot widths are in compliant. Parking is in compliant. Developer will construct a minimum of 10-foot wide sidewalk along the north side of Lake Lowell Road to act as a site path, also indicated on the City Nampa Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan. We feel this project is a needed project for the area with rents at an all-time high, housing costs at an all-time high, and cost of living at an all-time high. The demand for the new housing units like the ones we are proposing is likely to increase faster than the population itself. The traditional suburban single-family residential development model features low-density housing built on cul-de-sacs, neighborhoods separated from strip malls, big box retailers, and office parking along roads with ever-increasing traffic. But compact development, especially sustainable communities that promote accessible transportation choices, higher density, mixed use, and mixed income development, and attractive design have attracted growing interests, not only in this area, but pretty much across the country. Multifamily rental housing has long been an important part of the constellation of housing choices for families and individuals. It plays an increasingly important role in the workforce housing, providing homes for our nation's teachers, firefighters, police officers, healthcare workers, public employees. The vital workers contribute to the community, but their income are often less than what is required to support a comfortable middle-class living. We hope this project will be acceptable to the planning department and the commissioner, and we feel that this new project will add to the quality of architecture and distinctiveness of the area, and this project will also fit the needs of the owners. That's all I have for now, so I'll take any questions that you may have.
Okay, we'll probably have some after public testimony.
I'll wait. All righty. I appreciate it.
Okay, Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Parker Bodley, Associate Planner for the City of Nampa. The requests before you this evening are for recommendation of approval or denial of a development agreement modification and approval or denial of the preliminary plat for Falcon Townhouses. This project proposes to change the original concept from a 44-unit duplex and triplex development to a 76-unit fourplex and townhome layout. The history: in 2006, City Council approved the annexation and zoning of the property to RD, as well as a comprehensive plan future land use map amendment from low density to medium density residential. The annexation was approved with a development agreement. The approved plan was for a 44-unit duplex triplex project. In September of last year, we had a pre-application meeting to discuss the project. The property is currently within the city limits and is zoned RD. To the surrounding zoning to the north is RS6, and that's Copper River Basin. To the south is RS 8.5, being Carriage Hill North. To the east is BC, and that's vacant. To the west is RA, and those are single-family homes. Utility and emergency services are and can be made available to the property. The city's water, sewer, and pressure irrigation systems have adequate capacity to serve the project. Development agreement modification is basically a contract between the city and developer. Approval or approval with some alterations is thus a subjective decision for the council and commission to ultimately make. The plat will need to meet codes outlined in Chapter 10 that outlines regulations for the RD zone, and Chapter 27 that outlines the regulations for developing a subdivision. So the shown plan here is a copy of Ordinance 3584, which was recorded in 2006, which contains the development agreement referenced in the report. This request is to replace the previous development agreement that describes the 7.8 acre portion that makes up the 3 parcels. As has been stated, the existing development agreement has a concept plan laying out the 44 unit project. The density would be calculated for the existing development agreement at 6 units an acre. The agreement also contains design elements, which could be generally found in our current design review code. Should the project be approved, it would also have to go through design review. The present application before the commission proposes a change to the original agreement, including a newly drafted development agreement document. We would be replacing conditions of approval and site plan details, and we would provide the new legal description for the portion to be modified. In the nearby area are single-family residential to the north and south and commercial to the east. This development proposes 28 fourplex units and 48 single-family attached units for a total of 76 units on 7.8 acres. As has been stated, it's medium density residential. The RD zone allows for the attached townhomes as well as fourplex structures without a conditional use permit. The proposed gross density for the project is 9.74, which is above that for the medium density residential, going from 2.5 to 8 dwelling units an acre. NAMPA has determined that it's in the public interest to provide single-family residential infill development opportunities within the city limits, and that's expressed in our comprehensive plan. Safe routes to school. Nampa High School is 2 miles away. Lone Star Middle School is 1 mile away. And FD Roosevelt Elementary is 1 mile away.
Can I ask a?
Yeah.
So the original agreement was for 88 units and this one is going to be 76.
The original was for 44.
Okay.
44 total units.
But there are 44 duplexes?
So
or
44 total between the duplexes and triplexes.
Okay. 44 different rentals.
44 units.
Yeah.
Dwelling units.
Okay. All right. That's what I needed to understand. Thank you.
Yeah. Regarding the plat, because it's the development is slated for development in RD zoning. All master lots need to meet or exceed 7,000 square feet. And the smallest standard buildable lot is 14,453 for the fourplexes, and that's deemed compliant in that regard. The lot averaging, lot compatibility are exempt because this is regarded as infill subdivision property. The lot width, all master lots meet the lot width requirement. No right-of-way is required to be dedicated, as it's already been dedicated. The existing box culvert at Lake Lowell Avenue Canal Crossing will need to be extended to facilitate the construction of the site access, the right turn lane, and the pathway. The landscape plan was submitted, and there were some revisions regarding the types of trees that the city forester requested. Regarding the open space, there's one proposed common lot, which is mainly consisting of the canal and the easement for that. There are no other common spaces. A 10 to 12 foot pathway will be required for on the south side of the canal, and that will be in a 20-foot easement. The applicant states that the percent of open space, it will be 12.3%, with the majority of that being included in the residential lots. The parking will be calculated at 2 spaces per dwelling unit. This project provides 171, which meets that requirement. We received several public input emails and comments. The main concerns were regarding traffic, open space, density, the need for commercial, restaurants, retail in the area, a decrease in property values, and an increase in crime. All of those letters were submitted to you either in the staff report or before tonight. We also received the standard comments and conditions from the building department, the irrigation district, the forester, police, fire, and engineering. Nampa Parks requested the 20-foot easement, as I discussed. Some things to point out from the engineering comments, along with their standard comments, they stated that a traffic impact study was prepared for the site in 2007. The study indicated that a right turn lane was warranted at the time. In addition, an updated study would need to be submitted with the first final plat, just to bring it more up to date. The existing box culvert, as I discussed, would need to be extended for the access to the lot. The conditions of approval are those listed in the staff report and include the same items previously stated in the analysis. There are 2 motions for you tonight, and I will stand for any questions.
You said you did receive the landscape plan?
Correct.
You have a copy of that by any chance?
That was in the staff report. Should have been in the attachments.
What page is that on?
250, 249.
This is not in color.
Oh, yeah, it's not in color. That's why. Okay, and second question, the 2 lots between the project and Middleton Road, they are commercial lots?
Commissioner, correct. Those are commercial lots yet to be developed.
Do we have any activity on those you know of?
Not that I have heard.
Okay. The director's shaking his head no too, so. Thank you.
Steve, are you talking about those? I'm sorry, go back, Parker.
Yep.
Oh, there they are. They just weren't colored on the, so those 2 lots north, right? Directly, yeah, those are commercial? Okay. Colored that way.
They're commercial in our zoning map. This is the future land use map. They're medium density on the future land use map.
Any other questions for staff?
I had a question about density, Parker. You said medium density is 2 to 8 dwelling units per acre. This project's at 9.6?
9.74.
974. So is that, how does that qualify for medium density?
That is
Is that a net?
It's both. Because it's the roads are shared roads. It's both the net and the gross because it's calculated that way.
So we go by the 12.4 is the max.
Okay.
We can't hear you, Rodney.
Probably know this.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, when this is a situation where we have a net only, it's basically a net because they're not doing public roads, we go by the net. So the net is a 12.44 max in the medium density residential designation on the comp plan.
Okay, got it. Makes sense.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, we have a lot of people signed up. So I have my handy little sign that will tell you when you have 30 seconds and when your time is up, and my handy little stopwatch. So we'll get through everybody. Everybody will get a chance to speak who wants to speak. And if you agree with the person in front of you and you want to be on the record, you can just state that you agree with, so-and-so, and we'll be on the public record as against, and or for what, I don't think I have anybody signed up for. Everything's against. Okay, let's see. The first person is Jerry Weeks, and you've said you don't want to speak. Okay, you're on the record. Allison and Tom Bilello. Okay, come on up. And you give your name and address for the record when you come up.
Allison Bilello, I'm at 11349 West Timken. I do not see how this piece of property, I'm totally opposed. I don't see how this piece of property can handle all these units. That it's not that big a piece of property. And I'm not nervous to speak, I'm just really upset. So please excuse the way I'm speaking. Our canal water was just recently turned off almost a month early. I don't understand how you keep using the word adequate capacity as far as our utilities and everything in our water. When I'm done, I would like someone to explain what that means. I don't understand that. So our water has been turned off early. How can we have all these units in our area and share the new canal or the old canal? How can they share the water when we're spending all our money on our grasses and trying to do our plants and they're dying? How are you going to do this with us? I don't understand it. And yeah, I'm upset about it. This will be a large impact on our fire, our police. I don't get it. I don't understand why you guys keep giving all this building permits. We don't have all the infrastructure. And yeah, I'm really upset. I'm sorry I'm upset about this. I'm trying to calm down. We've chosen this area. We live in Carriage Hill North to own and live in a quiet area, and it's getting crazy. The traffic is getting crazy, and all we're doing is building, building, building. I don't understand Napa, the city. Why are you allowing all of this? Our quiet little subdivision is getting crazy. I don't understand. Maybe you can answer me also on this, and where's the builder? Where's the entrance going to be if you approve this? Where? On Lake Lowell, it's only a 2-lane road. Yeah, we have a 3-lane road coming down from Midway going into our subdivision, but it's only a 2-lane road. So please, there's nowhere everywhere to go. There's no traffic, or there's traffic. There's nowhere for this as far as the entrance goes. So I have this here, but I don't know where the entrance is going to go. There's a traffic. Yes, I hope we do the traffic study because 2007 is not going to handle it for us. So please, please do not approve this. We can't handle it. Our Carriage Hill North is just not going to be able to handle it and have our nice quiet area. And please answer me a question. Why are you guys giving all these permits and building when we can't handle all this? Thank you.
If you want to steal my page, I'll be glad to let you have it.
Okay, what is it?
It's got the entrances on there. It has the entrances on there.
And that's over.
Yes. I'm just gave you the piece of paper, ma'am. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. The water, farmland uses more water than houses. You're going to have a property on there. You're going to have a small yard. It's going to take a lot less water. And we have a drought going on, which is why we have irrigation issues right now. I haven't remember it being turned off this early in so many years. It's just we've had a bad bad winter and excessive heat this summer. So, you know, it's going to happen occasionally. Okay, so the next person, Leslie and John Harrier, and you've said you don't wish to speak. Okay. Slobodan Stevanovic. Come on down. And I see your name on here multiple times, but you...
I thought that I signed up for a wrong one. Just want to make sure you get it. Okay, so my name is Slobodan Stevanovic. I live on 11244 Rosette Drive, and I'm opposed this building, and I think it doesn't suit the area. And like the previous lady said, that was a nice, quiet area, so people decide to move in because it was quiet. Bringing high density, or it's technically high density for the he said, but how it was calculated, it ended up being a medium density. So it will bring more traffic, more noise, and it's going to ruin that part of Nampa, in my opinion. And now by looking all the stuff, how it's getting built and filled in with stuff, it doesn't make Nampa anymore pretty and attractable to other ones or to everyone. So, like, if there was a property here across the street and somebody wants to improve it, would you guys approve it to build a stable? No, because that area doesn't suit anymore for townhomes and like a high-density properties. And basically what it was said earlier, that it was approved in 2006 to build it. But now the area built up, so I think that this property need to accommodate the other areas. Like it says that the northern one above, it's a CBH community, and that one it's R6. I'm not so sure what it means, but it's not as crowded as that one. And the Carriage Hill community, it's R8, 8.5. So it should be something in between with the density to fit in nicely. Also, based on the picture, how it's shown, there is no common area for those people. So they are going to probably end up going across in the Carriage Hill community where I live, and I don't feel that it's right for somebody to pay for somebody else to enjoy. Like, you don't put the gas in your car for me to drive it. So I don't pay for amenities in my community for somebody else to use it. And like if it's a community like that are very similar, couple of people walking out from their community to ours, it seems fair because we might go over there. But when a community like this comes and there is nothing to offer, it doesn't suit the area in general. Also, there is going to be a lot of traffic, and that road knows to be very busy, and people know to fly down the road probably 50 miles or more. So it wouldn't be bad if you guys put some speed bumps to slow down some people. And the traffic study, I think it needs to be updated because that area grown too much since 2000. When was it? 2007 or something like that?
They're required to do a new traffic study.
All right, and also you mentioned that, for the 2 lots on the side, there is nothing, it's empty land, but it's zoned commercial until you guys decide to change it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Danny Robinson, you are on as opposed and don't wish to speak? Nope. Okay. Kyle, I can't read your handwriting. On Landau Way. Okay. Somebody who lives on 12880 Orico. Well, I can't read your handwriting, sorry.
David Hayden, I live on 12880 South Orico Way. That's in Carriage Hill, right across the street from this development. I came and spoke about the Stevens Place that they were going to do, and we're actually able to make a little headway on that, and some of the same things were discussed. Traffic problems, too many people in the area. It's not conducive to all the things that are around it, We had a person there that was an EMT and also a guy from the fire department that spoke about that one, that talked about the difficulty to get a fire truck in and out of there. So if you do have a problem, you can have multiple structures burning down probably if something happens back there to those two in the back because you don't have any way to get into them. You're working off a 14-year-old traffic study. I moved here from Washington 9 years ago, and I looked in this area before I moved out to where I'm at. I actually built a house or bought a house in Middleton first, and there was nothing out there where I'm at now. And, you know, 14 years ago, you guys didn't have a traffic problem out there. You didn't have a problem with not enough schools. You didn't have a problem with not enough police. And that was discussed with Stevens Place, and they backed off on that a little bit as far as the amount of units that they wanted to put in there. And I understand the developer backed out, and then now they're wanting to do, instead of multi-unit, single units there. And then we turn around and we try and up the density on this piece of property here. I don't understand that. We're not using the tax revenue that we have to take care of the schools, the police, and the streets. And we keep packing these people in here and making the traffic worse. So what's going to happen when the building does start to subside around here, if you guys don't figure out how to pay for this stuff ahead of time, we're going to be a world hurt then. And okay, this guy said that we only had, we haven't had an issue with our water for many, many years. What happens if this happens a couple of years in a row? We're taxing our services, we're taxing our police department, our schools, our roads, all that stuff. You guys need to consider all this stuff in advance before you keep approving all these things. And I know that was approved 14 years ago, or I guess, yeah, about 14 years ago on a different site plan with less density. I don't see how increasing the density in there at this point in time with the things that are around it is a benefit to the people that have already bought out there. It's going to increase the crime. It's going to increase the traffic. It's going to have more problems with the police and the fire services, and it reduces our property values. I just don't think it's a good fit for the area.
Okay, you're on the record. Thank you. Okay, the next person, Kenneth Combs.
My name is Kenneth Combs. I live at 12892 Orenco, which is basically next to that guy. I agree with a lot that everybody has said around here. I've also lived in the high density thing, and even though you guys have 12.3% of common area in the area, as calculated, when you live in a high density area and you're looking at 15 feet between the building as included as your common area, that's not room to play for kids. I mean, the only place that they're actually going to have actual room to play is in the canal, down towards the canal, which everybody generally knows, you know, it really isn't a good thing. But I wish you guys would disapprove of this. Going from 44 to 76, why not herd cattle instead? You're just packing them in. And, you know, it's a little different if it's a homeowner. I would commit to 44, but 76, if it's all rentals, are the owners in Idaho? Or is this some firm out of California where all the money's flying out of the state regardless? You know, let's build for the people of Idaho, not for out-of-staters, if that's what it is. And that's my peace of mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next person, Marilyn Salisi? Salsi. There we go. Sorry.
My name is Marilyn Salsi. I live at 11175 West Troyer, and that's in Carriage Hill North. a number of things. One is I wanted to address the increased traffic. I figure it's going to be about 152 people living there in that small area. And they're all going to be coming out onto Lake Lowell, excuse me. And that's not a good plan. The other thing is that Carriage Hill North and the developments on the north side of that property and on the west side of that property are all single family homes. And to drop duplexes in there and what sounds like apartment complexes, you know, the 28 single family, multi-family residences, how is that different than a townhouse? The other thing is I'd like to know if they're going to be single story, 2-story, or 3-story. You know, how high up are these things going to go? That's extremely concerning. And will rentals be allowed in there? So, you know, people who have rentals, they don't tend to take care of the property as well as homeowners do. So that's concerning. And the density all around it is way different. And the nature of the property is way different. And the infrastructure in that whole area, it takes so long to get from that area to the freeway. It takes a good 20, 30 minutes to get there. And it's because of the traffic and the 4-way stops and how unfriendly that is and how hard that is. People who work are going to work along the corridor of Nampa Caldwell Boulevard and 12th Avenue. That's where people will work, and maybe Treasure Valley Marketplace. And then the others go to Boise. So how, you know, for that high density, it really needs to be out closer to the freeway so people can get on it and go to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Belinda McBurney.
Okay, first I've calmed down. This is very emotional for me. I just wanted you guys to hear what we endure when this construction goes on around us, and it's not just us. And I don't think you understand the enormity of this. Regardless of what Toll Brothers said, I invite you all to see firsthand and come and walk our property and my neighbor Paul's property. I guarantee that you would be shocked and dismayed and understand our frustration and the lack of consideration that has gone on around us and the miserable existence that we have lived for 2.5 years. I agree with Mr. Haney on everything, very well said. That's what I would have said if I didn't have to come up and apologize for my outburst and my anger. But I guarantee, I try to put myself in everybody else's shoes, and I guarantee if you all were in my shoes and my neighbor's shoes, you would be so upset, frustrated, and your quality of life has been ruined for 2 years. I don't probably have much longer left on this planet, and I'd like to enjoy it. And I don't want to spend my entire existence cleaning up after a construction company and restoring our property. We're on limited income. We cannot fix and restore the damage that has been created. So I met with Mayor Kling, and she's wonderful. She said that it would be nice to do the right thing. So I'm up here asking on the behalf of all the citizens that are going to have to continuously endure this nightmare of development, the noise. Your whole existence revolves around what's going on around you when it's being built. And on that behalf, I just want people to do the right thing. I want Toll Brothers to do the right thing. The mayor, I give a shout out to her, and also Sabrina from Toll Brothers, who came out to see and agreed. She's no longer with them, unfortunately, or I might have made some headway. Without him, I do not make any headway. It's like, we will come in and clean this up at the end, but you're gonna sit there in filth and destruction, and they're not gonna replace all the dead and dying trees. They're not gonna replace the landscape that's been destroyed. They are not, basically they said they washed our house. It won't come off. That powder that they dug up, and I hope you all know and have experienced it, it has damaged our property and Paul Plode's property terribly. I invite you all to please come out and see it firsthand. Thank you. And again, I'm sorry for arguing with you.
Did you state your address?
11914 Iowa Avenue. And he's in a yellow house too. I don't know his address, but you really need to see his house too. It's pretty bad. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, John Redding.
I'll pass.
Okay, you're on here as against. John Weeks.
Madam Chair, gentlemen, please, thank you very much. Let me have just a moment to cool this microphone down for just a second here. There's a lot of passion in this group here, and there's good reason for it. Everybody loves this community. When we retired and moved back here 2 years ago, we spent a long time looking and trying to see where we wanted to buy a house to spend the rest of our lives. We live at 1100 South Spring Valley Drive, which if you went catty corner across the intersection of Middleton and Lake Lowell, you'd find yourself on South Spring Valley Drive, and we're just south of Lake Lowell. Everybody here so far has talked about traffic. They did a traffic study in June 26th, if I remember correct. That was before school started. I challenge any of you to drive Lake Lowell Avenue, Lake Lowell, let's drive Middleton Avenue from Iowa north. Let's see, it goes all the way where? Highway 26. Where are the jobs? There's none of the jobs around where this community is going. Everybody travels either down Middleton Road, they go down Lake Lowell. We've got great schools around us, but you can't walk to them because of the traffic. And if you did walk to them, you'd interfere with the traffic. Up until 3 weeks ago, there was not a single day this year that there was not construction going on Middleton Avenue. And yet, what has it done for traffic flow? Let's see, I graduated from Caldwell High School in '68. We traveled to Nampa many times, either to play in the band for various things, football games, basketball games, or whatever. And back then, Middleton, it was a 2-lane road. It's still a 2-lane road. So traffic is something we really need to take a look at. Okay, I'm not going to dwell on that anymore because of everything else that's going on here. But I just wanted to let you know, putting high density housing into a single dwelling community just does not work. Before I retired, I worked in Portland. We lived in high density housing for a while over in Hillsboro, over by Portland. And it worked very well because it was on a major thoroughway. There's a lot of commercial stuff right around it. We have a community here of high density housing over on Garrity Avenue, right there off of Happy Valley. The city's to be commended on that. That is a wonderful, wonderful addition. Those look like high quality townhouses. It works very well. You've got great traffic flow. They're right there at the access to the freeway. All the jobs, or most of the jobs, are south of there, or they go over to Meridian or over to Boise. But to try and go all the way through Nampa, I mean, where's this go? You've got to go down Middleton to get onto Karcher. Have you ever tried to do that during rush hour and get onto Karcher and then onto Colville Boulevard? Or to go through that intersection and stay in the right lane and get over there onto the freeway? Or better yet, why not, just about the time for school to start, drive down Lake Lowell Avenue and fight with all the parents trying to get their kids to school? We have a big traffic problem in this section of town. And until you drive it for yourselves, you probably don't realize it. You can have your assistants look at all the different details and write it out for you on paper and stuff, and it doesn't show the true picture. So anyway, I just challenge you on that. Oh, and there's one more little caveat thing. Everybody talks about utilities and running our gas and our power and sewer and everything. How many people here, show of hands, how many people here do not use cell phones? That's what I thought. Just one real quick thing. That section of town has the worst cell coverage in the city. If you were to go there and look at your phone, you'd have one bar. And I talked to Verizon, I've talked to T-Mobile, and they tried a few years ago to work with the city to put in a new tower, which would have been just east of Middleton, up on the rise there, where the city has a little dump area. Would have been perfect, but there are too many restrictions. I'd really, before you guys do this, add one more thing to your planning, and that is do a study, see whether there's actually coverage for all of our utilities. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it.
All right, Roy Sutherland.
I'll come up and just say a few things real quick. First time I've been here. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Give me a chance to talk.
Name and address for the record, please.
Oh, yes, I'm getting there. Roy Sutherland, Sutherland, and I live at 11339 West Platte River Street, Napa there. I'm in the Copper River Basin. I might be the only one from there. But just trying to go over a few things. I'll be quick. I guess the original plan had a lower density than the plan we're presenting here. That's what I'm correct. Okay, so just wanted to make that clear. Other people were concerned about the water, and I'm concerned about the drinking water. You know, I know we have, 13 aquifers that we drill through to bring our water up. And as from my understand, I've read in the paper that I believe over in Lake Lowell, they had some people with wells and they went dry I think they went dry, so they have to get their water. So thinking about it, I guess we're on the back end of the aquifers, because it'd be Boise first, Eagle, Caldwell, and then it's us, and then, Meridian, Eagle, Napa, Caldwell. So it seems like we might be getting what's left over. I don't know really how that works. You would know better than I would, but that is a consideration just with the number of homes we're putting in here. Now, I did think that, just a thought today that water looks like it's going to be becoming a big issue. So maybe we have Lake Lowell there, but it's for irrigation, but I don't know if it always has to be, but there might have to be a plant put in just so we'd have water to drink somewhere. Then the other thing I thought of was that the original zoning was in 2006, I believe is what we said. And I just think maybe in general, we should revisit some of our zonings, because now we know what we have. We zoned it the way it was, and now we know what we have. And before it was speculation, we didn't know what it'd feel like. So that was basically, I think, the three things I had to say. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Robin Grant. We have Steve that doesn't want to talk, right? Okay, Steve.
What she says.
Whatever she says, okay.
Smart man. I'm Robin Grant at 12709 South Transport Way in Carriage Hill North. And I agree with the people who've come before me, so I won't go into detail over that. I think they've covered that pretty well. What I'd like to do is offer a couple of solutions. So first of all, I'd like to ask you to oppose that's before you today for the reasons that you've been hearing. And then I'd like to offer a solution for your builder because, he's bought the land, he needs to do something with it. And while it'd be great to have it be a cornfield for the rest of forever, that's not going to happen. Something has to go there. So I just would like to ask for them to consider building single-family homes. Our area has battled all three sides with Carriage Hill West on the end. So I wasn't here when Carriage Hill West went through this process, but on all three sides, we've been here before you for condo projects. And hopefully this is the last one. I don't think there's any more spots for them, but I could be wrong. So I would just like to offer the solution that, we need, like the amendments that the other developments have done, we need, a smaller density that fits with the surrounding area. We need, amenities and parks, not a no-frills condo project that isn't consistent with the area. So that's a solution that I would offer is that, you would oppose this and they would come back with something that's a great project that would be wonderful for our area. And then the second solution I wanted to mention to you, and I wish I had thought of this for the previous time we were here, there's a small rise on Lake Lowell just before the entrance where they're talking about putting the entrance. So you kind of come up. So when we're coming out of our development and turning, you don't see the cars coming up until they just get right at that rise, which is where the entrance is at. So I don't know what your traffic study will show, but my suggestion would be that we put some stop signs in. That's a 45-mile-an-hour road. People are going pretty good clip, especially if they're coming from that opposite direction of Midland. And so the solution I would offer or ask for is that you would consider a stop sign of some sort that would prevent that rise. That would also be a great solution on Iowa to put a stop sign in at that Hunter's Ridge spot. But anyway, that's what I came to say. Forgive us all for being so passionate. We've been doing these meetings for a while and everybody's pretty riled up after so many of them. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, then we have Linda and Jerry Steele that you guys said you didn't want to speak.
Can I change my mind and say something?
You certainly can.
I'll speak for us. Jerry and Linda Steele, 1219 South Spring Valley Way, Nampa. Love Nampa. We adamantly oppose the project. Love what I just heard. Single family homes that fits in the area for all of the reasons noted here tonight. But I want to add something different in my testimony here. You're talking to a couple who recently escaped California, and I mean that truly, those words. I sold real estate in California, San Diego County, Orange County, Riverside County for 21 years, and my own real estate brokerage there in the midst of closing it down. I only have 3 minutes to talk. I could tell you over the course of 3 months, the danger, the problems that developments like this bring on. We're not set for it. We're not suited for it. It's good. We've talked about the construction and the problems the construction caused. To me, that's minimal. Not to the people who suffer that lifelong that we've heard, but it will bring problems for a lifetime. I'm asking all of you to do the right thing, to oppose this project. I love the solution, the single family homes. We're not opposed to that. We understand that the builder and the landowner needs to make money on their property. We get that part. We're asking all of you to do the right thing for us, the residents of Nampa. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Sharon Skinner. Said you didn't want to. I agree with her. Awesome. Okay, then we have Anthony Hatcher. Hetchler. Oh, okay.
Anthony Hetchler. My address is, excuse me, that's a little bit better. 12873 South Carriage Hill Way. My house is actually in one of those pictures. I'm opposed to this with all the great reasons. Also, while we put down, I saw where we had the schools, it was all walkable and that. It doesn't talk about student to teacher ratio. Right now, Lone Star is at 20 students to 1 teacher. Nampa High is 21 to 1. They're both higher in the district. Nampa High School is the highest, is one of the top 5 highest in the state. And we're gonna put more students in that district. I'm also opposed to it, just for traffic reasons. I know it's 9.74, it's a net of 12, but it's based on an old traffic report. While I applaud getting multifamily units in, I would have to rethink about where it's being placed. The major arterial streets are Midway, Midland, Middleton, and they just go, you know, that's how you would get to it, or you're going through Nampa, downtown Nampa to get to a freeway. Taking a look, there's no public transportation there. The closest market is a marketplace, which is not designed for the kind of growth that it's seeing around it. So when I go to it, it's constantly packed now. Before it was a good secret hideaway. I'm just wondering the reason why the decision's being built multifamily homes there as well. Taking a look, doesn't look like there's too many green spaces. Taking a look at the landscaping, it says there's gonna have to be revisions to that as well. This seems like it's going to be pushed faster, and then decisions are gonna be made after it's already done. And just seeing that happen before, that's never a good look, and that's just a good example. I think more should be done to like maybe build schools, build infrastructure there, whether I know there's commercial units there, even single family homes. Like I said, I would be with the rest of my neighbors along with that for single family homes. Right now, Lone Star, or I'm sorry, Lake Lowell is getting to be very busy, and the way the sun sets, there's going to be probably more accidents because the way it sunsets and with the asphalt, it creates a lot of sun blindness there too, especially with going down the hill and then getting up that where they're proposing that entrance is going to be.
All right, thank you. Okay, the next person is William Orrell.
President, I'm not going to waste anyone's time. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I am vehemently opposed as well. Been a lot of good points made.
Hey, you're on the record. Oh, this person didn't print. They live at 11361 West Rosette. Yeah, that could be it. Okay, if you want to testify more than you agree, then you. Opposed, but they've done a. Okay, thank you. Bob Higley. Okay. Dana Miller.
I'm Dana Miller, and I live at 12899 South Carriage Hill Way, very close to Lake Lowell. I'm not going to go over the same things that everyone else has said, although I agree with all of that. We are opposed. I just feel like this type of development is just not appropriate for our part of the city because we have no businesses, no workplaces essentially, and people are going to be driving miles to get to work and to any shopping or businesses, and this is just going to increase our traffic to a level that we already are seeing is just unacceptable. We need to put this kind of development somewhere where it's close to shopping. There's a large apartment complex that's been built out across from St. Luke's. That's near shopping. It's near healthcare. It's near the freeway. This is just not appropriate for where we are. I also had a question. I couldn't quite tell, is the road coming out onto Lake Lowell from this development? Or is it from the other, going north?
It's coming out on Lake Lowell.
There is a road out onto Lake Lowell. Where does that?
Parker?
Madam Chair, there's access on Lake Lowell, as you can see here, and as well as an access to the north.
Is it across from the entrance to Carriage Hill North?
This is the access to Carriage Hill, and this is the access to this development.
And so the road will go in there. So it will be like an intersection there at Carriage Hill North.
It's offset.
Madam Chair, they're offset.
Oh, it's offset.
Yeah.
It's east of there.
Okay. Anyway, that I can see is going to be difficult because the traffic on Lake Lowell is already getting difficult. And the four-way stops are just very much of a challenge. The other thing is somebody said, this is the fourth development we have been concerned about around us, with multifamily dwellings, just increasing the density, the traffic. We have partially successfully been able to cut that down. And I think that this is absolutely just, not going to work. And if we could do single family dwellings there, that would be great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Cheryl Higley.
She's got a binder.
I got to read it really fast. Good evening, Chairwoman Selman and commissioners. I came prepared with something to speak, but so many people have already said it better than I could. I'm going to skip a lot of it, but I'm going
We
to...
need your name and address for the record.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Cheryl Higley, 12441 South Abbott Downing Way in Carriage Hill, the Ridge. And I want to reiterate what Linda said, Linda Steele. I'm an ex-Californian too, and my husband and I could have lived anywhere to retire, and we chose Nampa. We loved the open rural feel out in Carriage Hill, the Ridge, and we loved the area. And so we chose here out of all the states that we looked at to retire to. And I find it ironic that, well, first of all, I agree with what Linda said about all the problems in California. I lived in Corona, California for over 50 years, 53 to be exact, and watched it grow from 9,000 people to almost 200,000. So this is like deja vu all over again. And I hate to see Nampa go through a lot of the same growth issues that have happened there. It started out with traffic and then terrible congestion, and now it's gridlock. My husband would leave at 5 a.m. in the morning to go into Orange County to be there by 8 to miss the traffic. He said if he would leave at 5:15, it was too late. That 15 minutes made a huge difference. So part of the reason this all happened was all the high density housing that was put in. So I find it ironic that the ex-Californians are fighting this, trying to spare you from the grief that we've already seen happen in California. So I just want to come up and share that instead of what else has been shared, because even though I agree with everything else, this is something unique that I can share with you that we don't want to see that happen here. This is a beautiful city. It's a beautiful place. Like I say, we chose it to retire in and to spend the rest of our lives, hopefully. And I just hope we don't regret that decision by we're not trying to change it, but it's being changed in front of our faces, and we feel like we have no control over it. So please, I urge you to deny this project or at least reduce the density to something more reasonable for the area. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, Carol James. Didn't wish to speak, but is on.
She had to leave.
Okay, so she's on the record. Okay, and then we have undecided people. Natalie France.
Hi, my name is, my name is Natalie France. My address is 11500 Lake Lowell Avenue. My property is behind the canal and up on the hill. So I see down into it. I think my preference after hearing everyone is actually the single family homes. I understand that Nampa needs to grow and like, that's fine. Like, and we need to share because that's the right thing to do. But that is a lot of density. So anyway, let's see. I was gonna ask a few questions. Will the canal be enclosed or will it be open? Because right now it's open and there's a bridge from my property to this one. And I own part of the property below the canal, actually, part of it. So if they have access to go through that, I wouldn't want them walking on my private property.
We can ask them when we get done with public testimony.
So yeah. So I'd be curious to know if they're gonna close it or if it's gonna be open. It's open to the other properties on the, I don't know what side that is. Above it on this map.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see what my other questions. How many stories are they proposed to build up?
We'll verify that. That's on my list of questions for the developer.
Okay, and then because like in New York City, you can buy property in the air. And I would be interested in purchasing
air rights.
Property in the air so that people can't build and block certain views, etc. I'm interested in that. I would like to know that.
There's some. That's a revenue stream for Nampa right there.
There we go. Sell your air rights.
There's a lot of development, you guys. Let's just put that out there, and y'all know. That's fine. And then let's see. The other concern I had was the fire. So I'm actually technically zoned county, as are my two neighbors, although, so see where it says RA, that's my neighbor to below, and then I'm the neighbor that shares the border of this property. So do you see my shop right there? That's my existing. So I think I need fire access in case there's a fire, and I'm the county, so the county needs fire access right there in case there's a fire at my house or something. I'd be concerned about that. That's an issue. And then I want to know if they're going to enclose it.
Okay, that's your time.
Okay, I think that's it. I think I was undecided at the beginning, but I'm veering toward against at the moment.
Okay, Natalie.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay, let me get this one last one. Mike Kripe, is it the same address? Same, got it. Okay, I'm ready for the online person.
Madam Chair and Commission members, this is Paul Haskew at 12325 Landau Way. I just want to say thanks for taking the time to hear us out. And I want to agree with those who are in opposition tonight. I also would ask that you would consider ensuring that this property is zoned similar to those that are a majority of the border. You've got the Copper Hills, or Copper River Basin rather, to the north that is RS6, and then you have Carriage Hill, which is RS 8.5, and then you're trying to push what I would consider to be high density. I know we got in on a technicality for medium density with the net versus gross numbers, but it feels like high-density homes in between all these other neighborhoods. The other concerns that were brought up, I think, are fair, and that the mayor's brought it up herself about the fact that there's no paths and no play areas in this particular neighborhood at all. The green space that they're talking about is the right-of-way for the lateral or canal that runs through there. My property has a Thacker lateral that runs on it on two sides. They don't want you playing on the ditch. So, I mean, I've had lots of discussions with them about that particular right-of-way and how that works, and things they will and won't do and will and won't allow. So that is a concern of mine. But aside from that, it looks like parking will be mostly addressed with the current plat design. And then I still have the concern about the traffic. So I drive Lake Lowell frequently due to the fact that it's pretty near my house, and that particular road is quite dangerous in the evening times when that sun is going down and setting. So I'm hoping that that updated traffic study will show that. There have been several times where people have come running down that hill and they're not paying attention. And also when I'm walking in that area, I've almost been hit when you're walking against traffic because people are not going slow and they can't see you as they're coming over that rise. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else online to testify? Is there anybody present that hasn't testified that would like to? Okay, we have some questions now for the developer. If you could come on back up. We'll see if your list and my list coincide.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, I will be willing to take any questions that you may have.
Okay, did you take down notes of what questions, or do you just want me?
I did.
Okay, do you want to start with what you got and then we'll see?
Sure, we do have a PowerPoint presentation. Caleb, do you have that? Yeah, that's it. First off, before I go into the PowerPoint presentation, I do want to repeat what I have said, that this site is an RD zone, which allows for this type of development. And unfortunately, people who buy homes may not know that they're buying a home next to an RD zone, which allows for multifamily development. Another complaint that I heard a lot about was congestion and traffic. Does compact development really cause an increase in traffic and congestion and parking problems, as a lot of people have said? An increase in congestion seems self-evident, but only by comparing an apartment complex to the status quo, like no development whatsoever. The proper comparison would be to compare single-family housing with rental homes. On average, apartment residents own fewer cars than single-family residential homes. Single-family usually has 2 cars per house, where single-family is usually only 1 car per house, per unit. That has been studies have shown that. So I just want to reiterate that you really need to compare the total amount of rentals to the total amount of residential homes. So if we're talking 76 units, you got to really compare that to 76 residential homes. I'll go into this PowerPoint presentation here real quick, talk about this. As you can see, the part, some of the complaints: density, less dense for the residential single fourplex. Traffic will improve after, traffic was another complaint. Middleton Road is 5-lane intersection improvement. So in the future, Middleton Lane will be improved to a 5-lane road. You know, another complaint that we've heard is home pricing. It drops when you're next to multifamily residential. And that's really not true. And we'll show you that in the following slide. Shortage of people for services. We kind of all know that this demand is very high. Even Governor Little just came out and was begging developers to develop more multifamily projects because there is such a high demand of this type of development. Shortage of water, that's kind of a misconception. There is plenty of water available from the city utilities. I'm not talking the irrigation. That is just unfortunate. We all live in the valley here, and we all have seen that irrigation got cut off a lot earlier than normal. But that's unfortunate just due to the weather, the climate that we have been in, pretty low winter months producing snow, and then just an extreme high weather temperatures over the summer. The next slide here is kind of, did I skip it? Yeah, density less than residential single family zone. As you can see, the required property area is 4,000, and what we're proposing is 4,471 per square foot. Density is less than the residential single zone. Here more on density. The land is an RD zone. I've said that a few times now, and I just want to reiterate that an RD zone does allow for multifamily projects. Minimum land area per building of an RD zone is 14,000 square feet. Average land area per building of this project is 17,833 square feet. So you can see that we have 73,768 square feet, 1.7 acres of extra land that we are providing. This is not a high density project. We've already talked about that. I know there's some clarification on net stuff, but we are providing the right amount of density to be considered a medium density project. I already kind of talked about the traffic condition. Currently, 3 or 2 lanes in Milton Road causing high traffic. Milton Road is to be expanded to 5 lanes, and intersections will continue to be improved. A signal was just installed at Lone Star, and one is also planned for Orchard of next year. I imagine Roosevelt and Lake Lowell will be next to be improved through timing, although timing is uncertain. Caleb can kind of attest to that. Traffic conditions will improve after the project of Milton Road is modified. We also were, not sure if anyone here talked about it, but we have received emails and concerns about the neighboring neighborhoods and being next to multifamily, having your home prices drop. There has been several studies shown that that is not the case. And here's a good example is the Boise, which is the north end. If you know the north end of Boise, you know there's going to be a lot of rental properties in the north end of Boise. And we're showing here that property that's next to multifamily is actually the same price that other homes are that are away from the multifamily. So when you're next to multifamily, your home prices doesn't really drop. And that's kind of evident here on the slide that we're showing. So prices did not drop even if multifamily is nearby. Shortage of people for services. This kind of talks about police officers and firefighters, bus services. It's really hard to, say that this development is going to put a burden on that type of services when you look throughout the entire city of Nampa and you see all this development that's going on. You can't really just pinpoint that that's going to cause issues for our development that we're doing. If affordable housings are not permitted, the crisis will increase and we'll see a lot of homeless people in the city. So like I said, Governor Little even came out and was really implementing that we need to have a lot more multifamily projects in the Treasure Valley and in Idaho. It's just, as you guys all know, the demand is very, very high. Water crisis, Water crises, not enough water from the water wells. That's kind of a misconcept as well, running out of water. 2 sources of water, personal well and a 600-foot well from city. Personal wells have less water since it's not so deep, but the 600-foot well can support new projects easily. I am just talking about the utility services for the water. Again, not talking about the irrigation water. Others, shortages of parking, 171 parking spaces for this project. Minimum is 172, so we are providing several more parking spaces than what's required. Does the project fit with the surrounding? Yes, because it's a home-like townhome style. Only 2 stories, which Madam Chair, I believe you had a question about that. It's a 2-story maximum for the buildings that we're going to be proposing. Rent increase, rent increase crisis. Treasure Valley has the largest rent increase in the USA in a year, pushing lots of renters to the west, which is, when we're talking the Treasure Valley, west would be Nampa, Caldwell area. The least number of units have historically been in the pipeline in West Nampa. Adding more units to the supply will help ease the demand. And we'll see homeless crisis like California has seen, if not enough affordable housing are permitted for, middle-class families. In California, as we all know, middle-class families are now living on the streets, and we certainly don't want to do that here in Idaho. So in summary, less density than a residential zone is with the RS4 zone. Traffic will improve soon. Middleton to a 5-lane road project. Intersection improvements is going to be happening here in the near future. Surrounding home prices will not decrease. Shortage of service people will worsen if multifamily projects are denied. I mentioned that in my first go around that teachers, firefighters, they're what we classify as middle-class families, and a lot of middle-class families are needing, rental type properties. We certainly don't want homelessness in the city of Nampa, and we believe that rental properties help fit the need for middle-class America. This project will be a nice fit in the area since it's a home-like townhome style project and not your massive multi-family apartment complex that you often see.
One of the questions was about the canal being enclosed.
We are not enclosing the canal. We have not been told we have to enclose the canal, and we would really not want to do that because of cost. I believe enclosing that canal would almost be a project dealer, would kill this project.
What does it mean?
Come up to the microphone.
Yeah. Covering the canal or having a boundary around the project? Subdivision. I think the question was, are you going to build a boundary, right?
Well, the question is, are you going to?
I think the question was, are you going to what we call piping the canal? So no, we will not pipe that canal. And like I said, if we are to pipe that canal, it definitely would be a project killer. There's no doubt about it. That would be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
All right. Okay. And you're not going to block access for her fire protection?
No,
yeah.
No. And we've got that. And I also heard about the complaints about getting onto Middleton Road. And I just want to reiterate again that this is going to be a right-in turn only into this development. So if you're leaving, you can't turn. You have only one way into this development.
About Lake Lowell?
Lake Lowell, I apologize. And then there is going to be access to the residential houses to the north, but that's going to be gated and enclosed and only like a knock box or some other means for the fire truck access into the development.
Into Copper River?
Yes.
Okay. All right. You guys have any other questions?
Staff.
All right.
Oh, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but nobody asked the question. What is the starting price?
That is a good question. We're going to be definitely in the same median range as all the other development that is close to what we are doing for, townhouse style, rental type style housing. We will definitely be in the same range as all the others. Obviously, we can't be too high or we won't rent them. And we're probably not going to be the lowest on the block either.
Is your plan to rent these or to sell them?
Our plan for now is to rent them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I make a motion we close public.
Wait, I have a couple of questions for staff.
You don't have to have this public hearing open first.
Yeah, we can close public hearing if yes.
I want to go on there. All right.
Close public hearing.
Can I make some comments? Sorry.
Sure.
Yeah. My name is Atul Karim. I live in 1297 West Pine Avenue, Meridian. We have not decided if we will go for rental or sell it. Initially, we might go for renting, but if we have enough buyer, then we can sell it. So we have two types of housing here, like 7 buildings. Each of them has 1 lot, and rest of the 12 has 1 lot per unit. So if we can find seller, we can sell it, but it is not decided yet. Another thing is, a question was the percentage of common lot or open space. So we have 7.8 acre in total, and the outside the easement of the canal, we have around 5.6 acre. So we have actually 30% open space. That 12% came because we had to adjust our lot line. If you look at the preliminary plat, if we have option to show that 30%. Actually, we have 30%, but we didn't show it. Otherwise, it would be too complicated to draw the plat line. So people can make sure that there are 30% actually open space. So I have to make sure this thing. Other things, another thing I want to make sure is this is not a high density. This is way less dense than medium density. As Glenn showed, we have 1.7 acre extra than the minimum requirement of the RD. And we are actually less dense than some of the residential zoning, for example, RD4. And RD4 zoning is only 1.5 block away from this area. So I think we are way below the minimum requirement of RD and even RS. So I hope you all guys will approve our project. Thank you so much.
That's understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now, Jeff.
Daniel, can I borrow you for a minute, please?
Absolutely.
Gotta close.
Cut me off. You didn't think you were going to get out of here without.
Yeah, gotta have engineering. I heard that next week they're going to widen Middleton to 5 lanes. Can you give us a real idea of what that's going to be?
So I will say that the 2-lane roadway itself can handle a lot of traffic. It's the intersections where we have the capacity issues. And so with the addition of the signal at Lone Star, and then the Nampa Highway District is pending their case with their property acquisition case. That one should be constructed this next year at Orchard. We do not have a funding year for the intersection of Lake Lowell or Iowa on Middleton. Currently, we are working on Lake Lowell and Midland and Iowa and Midland. And so those are the ones that we are focused on right now. I don't have a funding year for construction at the intersections there, though. We did in this last year when we did our road project on Middleton Road, we did add turn lanes at a number of those intersections, which helps those capacities on those four-way stops. But I don't have a funding year for widening that road to 5 lanes, which currently is not needed on the roadways, but we don't have a funding year for the intersections at this time.
It's not going to be next year, the year after.
Not likely.
Right. Thank you. And Parker, I looked through the application and I didn't see anything from the school district about what their capacities are. Do you have something that I didn't see?
Chair, Commissioner, the school district submits a typical letter for most subdivisions, stating that there's no concerns about school capacity due to the aging population. Exactly my point, because they always do that, yet the public always hears we're full. We don't have any room. We can't build another house here because we have no place to put our kids. So I'm just trying to say that it's not our fault. It's the schools that aren't giving correct information for them to hear about. Got Rodney up here now.
Yep.
He's taking his mask off.
All right.
Getting serious now. Madam Chair and Commissioners, I had a recent meeting with the school district, Nampa School District, and then also the Valley View School District. They're vastly different in their ability and capacity to hold new students in their schools. Valley View School District is over capacity right now. Nampa School District is under capacity significantly. And so they are trying to bring in students from other sources and utilize their buildings. And it was really interesting to talk to both of the school districts about this. This one's Nampa School District. They have plenty of capacity to handle new students in this area. The Valley View School District, those projects you see, that's a concern, absolutely.
Is it because of all the charter schools we have in the Nampa area and not so much in the Valley View District?
They seem to think that it was mostly not being able to keep up with the growth in the Valley View School District. So I would defer to their comments on that. But, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed.
Well, Madam Chair, I just want to get this on record because I say this every time. I am here as a representative, I think, of the citizens of Nampa. I'm not here because of me and what I want to have done. And we've had other projects in this area seeking development, and I've turned them down because of the same reasons as I will this one tonight. So just want to let you know on record, it's nothing about people's personal preferences. It's just the overall picture in this area of Nampa.
So I made lots of notes again. I'm not going to go through it because I think we've addressed a lot of them, but in no particular order. So I've listened to your comments. I've taken notes on what you've said. I wish I had an opportunity to dialogue with you back and forth, but that's not the case. I'm aware of the little rise in Lake Lowell on that road, and it is a little dangerous. I get that, and that is a concern, especially that close to an intersection with that much traffic. Speaking of traffic, it's everywhere. And yes, I'm frustrated where I live of the traffic, the development, the building. We all are. It's not focused in one area of Nampa. We're all dealing with this. We're all dealing with it everywhere. So I don't necessarily reject that, but it's just not for this area only. We're going to get traffic. You're going to get more traffic out there anyways. It doesn't matter if you have this development. There's a little bit further that development can happen, and then we hit our border basically with Caldwell, our area of impact out there. And so there's not much further, but there's still room to put some more development if that's what happens out there. So you're going to get traffic no matter what. So traffic is just going to happen. The irrigation, we talked about the irrigation water. You know, it sucks to be in a drought and not to have the water and the snowpack that we need, and we all suffer from that. It's not specific to any one neighborhood. We have plenty of water in our aquifer. We just listened to a presentation about the capacity of our water, our potable water, or potable water, however you want to say it. And we're in good shape. We're in good shape. We actually, I think, sit on 2 aquifers, or we're using 2 aquifers here in this area. So we're in good shape with the aquifers. The homes that were mentioned out there south of Lake Lowell, that was just a depth capacity as far as the wells drying up. They're not running out of water. You're going to get traffic. You know, we hear this a lot about if this project gets built to my house, then it's going to reduce my land value, my property value. And, you know, we hear that all the time. And so we always ask that question. And no one has ever brought us any evidence to the contrary. So that argument, although I hear it all the time, I have yet to see evidence that it does, in fact, reduce property values. I think we tend to want to see that so that we can use that as kind of an excuse, a NIMBY excuse type of thing, but I have yet to see any evidence. Stop sign, you're going to take the traffic, irrigation, it's impossible. So here's why I'm opposed to this. Not for all these reasons, I just want to say that because I took the time to write them down. But that area of town, I think we should keep to the development that is there. I think we should preserve that for single family homes. It's a beautiful area. It's right on the lake. Well, it's not right on the lake. It's close to the lake. There's not much more room out there. It is away from central services like shopping and, you know, and I get all that too. I'm not opposed to the townhouses. I think this is a good project. I would absolutely be opposed if it was an apartment complex, 3 stories, 4 stories, that kind of thing, really high density. This is not a high density project. I know people have said that a lot. It is not. Technically, it is not a high density project. But I do get the compatibility issue. And I know I go out there all the time, and I would love to just kind of keep that same feel with those small, you know, we have some really low density property out there. And we have some folks that really want to be there. And I think we need to preserve that type of area because sooner or later, we're not going to have that. I think we encourage infill. I think this project is better suited for something that where we can maybe look at an infill project closer to town. And that's why I am leaning to opposition or opposing this project. I think I said my piece.
So I guess I'll go for this side of the room. I've lived in this community my whole life. I've been in the development business my whole life, and I'm pro development. And I know that we all get really passionate about projects that are right next to our homes. And you know, I live in an area in North Nampa where Amazon just built a 2 million square foot fulfillment center less than a mile from my house. So I also want to stand up for my fellow commissioners. And when we get these packets, we don't get them when we get here and have to make decisions on the come after we listen to public testimony and the applicant and staff. We get these packets ahead of time, and I personally spend probably an hour and a half to 2 hours on each item that's on the agenda during the week when I'm also working. So, and we all care, right? We all live here. We all care about what's going on in our community. Saying all that, this project, it just seems too dense for me. When I look at what was approved in 2006, and then we've added thousands of people to that area of town. And now we're looking at something that's more dense on an already crowded infrastructure system, road system. And I understand you have to have development to pay impact fees and support the infrastructure, but we have to consider compatibility when we're looking at, 78 units right next to a nice RS 8.5 and RS 6 subdivision. So I think it's a good project for another location in the city, and it would fill a good void for affordable housing in another location, but I don't like it in this location.
I'll go ahead and go now. I tend to agree on density issues. And then, like Ron said, we as a commission, we're volunteers, first of all. And I think a lot of people need to understand that we're passionate just like you guys are, because I've lived here my entire life. I love Nampa. I like to see some things, and there's some things that I don't like to see. There's some things that are completely out of our control, and there's a lot of things that we're trying to steer growth in the right direction. There's a lot of things that we'd like to see, and there's a lot of things that we can't do anything about. We volunteer for this commission so we can try to make an impact in the right direction. We don't want to see Nampa fail. None of us do, just like you guys do. And then it's important for you guys to understand too, like Commissioner Kirkman said, we live here. I've got quite a bit of development going on within a quarter mile, half mile of my house. Some apartment complexes just got voted in. It's passed. It's going to happen. They're going to be able to look from their apartment building into my swimming pool in my backyard. I'm not too excited about that, but that's part of life. It's part of development. You can't completely make it go away. I know that a lot of people move here because it is a quiet community, and we hear that a lot. But a lot of people like that. They want to move here. And a lot of, I think, what people would like us to do is just say, okay, no more development. Sorry, we're going to shut it off. Well, what if we would have done that 5 years ago? And then you couldn't have moved here as people who moved here 2-3 years ago. You couldn't have moved here because we would have shut it off 5 years ago, and that wouldn't have been an option for you. You have to look at it that way too. We also have to understand that development's coming. It's not going to stop. It's just not. So we are trying to, as a commission, guide it in directions that we have discussed in meetings with city council, with the mayor, with each other, with the community. And I want everybody to understand, if you guys have suggestions, if you have problems with traffic, start looking at the news. The mayor puts out stuff all the time. There's always community involvement is welcome. There's been lots of letters. There's been lots of newspaper things. There's been stuff on the news about, hey, the city of Nampa is putting together a big group of people and we'd like community involvement. But all we hear as a commission is complaints about what's happening, but I don't see hardly any faces at those things. It's these faces that I see. It's people from other groups and bodies that volunteer just like we do, but we don't see concerned citizens. I'd like to see everybody there. I'd like to see the next time we had a deal like that, 4,000 or 5,000 people show up. I think that'd be fantastic, because those are the points where people can come out and say, hey, I suggest this. That gets the discussion going and maybe can help guide things. So I don't want to keep going, but I agree. This end of town is RS6 or RS8.5 single family lots. I just don't like the density of it, especially since they're asking for more density. If it would have been the lower, I don't know, but it's just too dense for this specific spot. I like the project. I think it'd be great in another spot, but the thoughts that there isn't anything around this as far as business, work, shopping, that kind of thing, it just makes me a little nervous about it's just cramming more people to then drive on those roads to make it even busier than it is. So I've said my piece.
I agree, and I think that with that, I think we have a majority. So.
Do you want to make a motion?
There's two motions to this. We just deny, if we just make a motion to the negative, we had to do both of them though. Because isn't the DA gonna? All right. All right, I'll go ahead and make a motion then. I move to recommend denial to City Council, the development agreement modification to modify the concept plan and conditions of approval of ordinance number 3584, changing the site plan, the number of buildings, associated parking and conditions for Falcon Townhouses subdivision on those 3 parcels on Lake Lowell. For Delta LLC, with all conditions listed in the staff report, which.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to deny the development agreement modification. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Additionally, I will move to deny the subdivision preliminary plat for the Falcon Townhouses subdivision, single-family attached townhouse units and 12 buildings on those 3 parcels on Lake Lowell. For Delta LLC and Tau Karim with all conditions that were listed in the report.
Second again.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to deny the preliminary plat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So that goes on to City Council with our recommendations, but if you want to, they're going to hear it all over again at City Council, so.
But you need to go if you don't, they can always change our minds. Yeah. They have the last say, not us.
Thank you guys for being.
One thing for everybody here, because I think that they'll be in agreement with me. I like the fact that you're now putting in the code, talk to the people in the neighborhood before you do these projects. This is a big waste of time not doing that.
Starts October.
October.
That's a good thing for everybody.
Yep. Agreed. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Is that it? Okay. I wasn't sure. I put all my.